Konoha Uchiha, I get stronger by causing trouble. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 Hunter or Prey. With the invigilator's order, the first exam officially began. All candidates looked at the test papers on their desks seriously, but soon their eyes turned white. Not to mention doing this question, only a few can understand it. Question 1. Ninja Xiaoming stood on a rooftop 10 meters high and threw shuriken at Ninja Xiao Kayang, who was moving at 20 meters per second on the ground 20 meters away. He also took a quick look and suddenly felt sleepy. Well, mathematics plus physics. He shook his head quickly to drive away the sleepiness. He traveled through time because he read math books. If he went deeper, he might have to travel through time again. Although he really wanted to try it, he considered that if he didn't travel through time but fell asleep directly, it would be a big loss. Moreover, he has been in this world for more than half a year and has established many ties, and it is impossible to just give up like this. When there is a chance in the future, he can try again. Retracting his divergent thinking, he opened the Sharingan and then scanned the surroundings. Soon, he found several candidates who were writing furiously in the examination room. These people should be ninjas disguised as candidates. TSK, why didn't I have these eyes when I took the college entrance examination? He sighed, and when he was about to lock on the target and start copying, he suddenly felt something was wrong. Through careful observation, he found that the answers written by these disguised candidates were completely different. Although he was uneducated and graduated early, he could still see that these people were completely irrelevant. Good guy. Among these disguised candidates, some people deliberately wrote wrong answers. It seems that this exam not only tests the candidate's ability to collect intelligence, but also tests whether the candidates can collect correct intelligence. After all, there are often mistakes in collecting intelligence, and the price of this mistake may be one's own life. Ninjas also need to distinguish whether this information is wrong. Kakashi said he has a say in this. If he hadn't analyzed the information completely, they wouldn't have been able to bring back the Four Tails Jinchuriki. Doghead, after observing carefully for a while, he finally found the person who wrote the correct answer, and then he started copying. After writing down the answers, Chiga paid attention to his two teammates. After all, this exam was a joint exam. If those two didn't pass, he wouldn't be able to enter the next exam. However, Maite and Ebisu were beyond his expectations. They didn't cheat, but they could write down the answers. Chiga was slightly stunned, but he figured it out. Let's not talk about Maite. He is middle-aged and has participated in the Chunin exam more times than Chiga is. Although it is unexpected, it is reasonable that he can answer the questions of the Chunin exam by himself. As for Ebisu, Chiga couldn't help but sigh that he could answer these non-human questions at such a young age. This kid is worthy of being Konohamaru's tutor in the future. He still has some merits. He originally wanted to use the Sharingan to help Ebisu. It seems that the third Hokage also thought carefully when selecting teammates for him, and he would definitely not let his teammates' failure prevent him from entering the next exam. In this case, Chiga didn't care about it anymore. He also had the leisure to watch the cheating methods of these candidates in the examination room. After all, they were all elites from various countries, and they soon understood the purpose of this exam. They began to show their magical powers. The puppet line of the Sand Village, the rock carving technique of the Rock Village, the water mirror technique of the Rain Country, and so on. Kyan was also secretly amazed. Sure enough, those who could survive in the ninja world all had some special means. Of course, there were also unskilled people among these elites. The poor cheating skills were worse than those of Kyan's classmates in high school. Soon, these people were deducted points for cheating, and then they were asked to leave the examination room by the invigilators. And the three rock ninjas who attacked Kyan at the beginning were among this group of people. Originally, he wanted to find trouble with this team of rock ninjas in the next game, but now it seems that he doesn't need to. Kyan sighed. His strength is not very good, but he is really lucky. As time passed bit by bit, an hour was over. Time is up. The chief invigilator announced the end of the exam, and all the invigilators stood up and collected the test papers of the candidates. Under the tense gaze of many candidates, the invigilator counted the number of people who passed and eliminated those ninjas who collected wrong answers. After doing all this, the chief examiner announced to the candidates who were still present, "Okay, everyone here, I declare that you have all passed the first exam." Chiga heard this and knew that there were no additional questions or other means to test people's hearts. Yes, the current invigilator is not as good as Marino Ibiki, the masochist who came later. As for the elimination rate mentioned by the chief examiner at the beginning, it was probably just a rhetoric to force candidates to cheat. 150 teams, only 1/3 were eliminated. The chief examiner counted the remaining candidates and said regretfully, "These 50 teams are really lucky. At least they will not lose their lives because of the exam, right?" This statement seemed to foreshadow the bloodiness of the second exam. At this time, the chief examiner of the second exam walked in, took out a stack of papers, and distributed them to the candidates present. "I'm the examiner of the second exam. As for my name, I won't tell you, because I don't want the dead to remember my name. Before entering the examination room for the second exam, you need to sign this death waiver consent form, indicating that you are entering voluntarily and are responsible for your own life and death. The examination room is in the Death Forest of Konoha. The examination time is 2 p.m. No waiting after the deadline. By the way, you still have time to have a good meal now. After all, it's hard to say whether you are hunters or prey in the Death Forest." After leaving the classroom, the venue of the second exam has been notified, and it will start in the afternoon. Everyone only has time to have lunch. In the words of the invigilator of the second exam, it means to have a good meal before death, so as not to leave regrets for yourself. It must be said that these invigilators have maximumed out their ability to put pressure on others. Kyan has even seen disputes among many teams, and some candidates who don't want to die are persuading their teammates to give up the exam. Kyan in the distance, Kushina saw Kyan coming out and waved to Kyan, signaling Kyan to come over. "Uncle Might Day, Ebisu, you two should go eat first and gather at the second exam location at 1 p.m. Chiga said to his two teammates. "Okay." Might Day and Ebisu responded and left together. Chapter 102 Uzumaki Misa. "Teacher Kushina, what's up?" Chiga asked when she came to Kushina's side. Kushina looked around vigilantly, and seeing that no one noticed, she whispered to Chiga, "Tell me honestly, was it you who cheated Tsunade's money in the casino that time?" "Teacher Kushina, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand?" Chiga was suddenly shocked, but still pretended to be puzzled. Kushina was very satisfied with Chiga's reaction, nodded and said, "Very good. No matter who you meet, you should give this answer." However, although she said so, she had already started to pull Chiga's cheeks with both hands. Obviously, this who should not include her. "Huh, Chiga, if I couldn't even see this, how could I have chosen you at first sight and become your teacher?" Kushina pulled hard and sneered at Chiga. "You are so courageous. You dare to provoke Sister Tsunade. Aren't you afraid of dying in her hands?" "Teacher Kushina, stop it. If you continue to do so, you will not be able to survive the second exam." Chiga felt the severe pain on both cheeks and wanted to cry, but had no tears. However, he also knew that his teacher was doing this for his own good, otherwise he would have reported it to Tsunade. She and Tsunade have a very good relationship. After all, being able to lend money to Tsunade without complaint means that their relationship is very strong. But for Chiga, he could even keep this a secret. Upon hearing this, Kushina also loosened her grip. She was not angry because Chiga provoked Tsunade, but because she was angry that Chiga had kept it a secret from her. And it was such an exciting thing, but he didn't ask her to do it together! Exclamation mark. Kushina patted Chiga's shoulder and said, "Okay, be careful. Sister Tsunade has already had some doubts about you. Although I have evaded her, she will definitely not let it go. Don't show any flaws, otherwise it will be difficult for me to protect you in front of Sister Tsunade, who is furious." Chiga suddenly realized what he said. He said that it had been So many days since the incident, why did Kushina start a fight today and inexplicably receive negative emotions from Tsunade in the examination room? It seems that some of his actions in the examination room attracted Tsunade's attention. While the two were talking, they suddenly noticed that a group of candidates looked at the two of them several times, and then they lowered their heads to talk. Kushina glanced in the direction of the group of candidates, frowned slightly, and asked Chiga, "Did you provoke them again later?" "No." Chiga shook his head, and then also looked at the group of candidates. Through the forehead protectors on the candidates' foreheads, Chiga recognized that the other party was a ninja from the Land of Grass. After a little thought in his heart, he seemed to understand something. He said to Kushina, "Teacher Kushina, I feel like they are looking at you more." If he remembered correctly, there seemed to be another member of the Uzumaki clan in the Kusagakure village in the Land of Grass. At this point in time, it should be Uzumaki Karen's mother. Speaking of which, compared to Kushina who came to Konoha, the people of the Uzumaki clan who were left in other countries seemed to have a miserable life. Uzumaki Karen's mother was like this. She was treated as a mobile blood bag by the ninjas of the Kusagakure village. When they were injured, they would bite her body to recover from the injury and restore chakra. In the end, she was drained alive and died. And this group of Kusagakure ninjas probably suddenly saw that there was also an Uzumaki clan member who was a mobile blood bag in Konoha, and they had some bad intentions. Of course, this is Konoha, and they don't have the courage to do it here. But if Kushina was met by their ninjas from the Land of Grass outside, maybe they would do it secretly. And now they are probably collecting intelligence. Chiga's eyes flashed with murderous intent. "Look at me? What are you looking at me for?" Kushina was a little confused when she heard that. She didn't have any friends or even enemies in the Kusa village. The three Kusa ninjas also noticed that Chiga and Kushina had noticed them, so they immediately retracted their gazes and left as if nothing had happened. Chiga said, "Teacher Kushina, do the Uzumaki clan have many strange abilities? Can you tell me about them?" The abilities of the Uzumaki clan. You know what? Our clan is not weaker than your Uchiha clan in terms of abilities. Although Kushina was surprised that Chiga would suddenly ask about the Uzumaki clan, she still smiled and replied, "The people of the Uzumaki clan have a lot of chakra and huge vitality. As long as they don't die accidentally, they are very long-lived." At this point, Kushina put her hand on Chiga's head and said, "Well, maybe teacher, I can outlive you." Chiga opened her dead fish eyes and looked at Kushina expressionlessly. Kushina gave a wicked smile and continued, "The Uzumaki clan is also very good at sealing techniques. Your teacher's diamond seal is a unique sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, which is powerful enough to seal the tailed beasts. By the way, there is also a perception ability called Kagura's Heart Eye. That is the best perception technique in the ninja world. Unfortunately, your teacher's heart is not big enough, and I still can't do that thing." Chiga rolled her eyes at Kushina. "If you don't know, then don't know. What's the size of your heart? Can this ninjutsu be related to the size of your heart?" Seeing that Kushina didn't get to the point, Chiga continued to ask, "Then what else?" Kushina was silent for a while after hearing this, and then said, "There is also a special physique, which is also relatively rare in the Uzumaki clan. You can restore your own or others' chakra and injuries by biting the skin." At this point, a trace of hatred flashed in Kushina's eyes, as if she remembered something bad. Those Uzumakas with this physique will be plundered by other countries and used as blood bags. Chiga heard this, and a trace of disgust appeared in his eyes. He asked again, "Then teacher Kushina, do you know anyone like this?" This made Kushina silent for a while, and then she said with a nostalgic tone and sadness, "There is one. Her lineage has always inherited this physique. With the annihilation of the Uzumaki clan, she has disappeared. I think she is dead." "What's her name? Why do you ask this?" Kushina glanced at Chiga and said, "Missa, her name is Missa Uzumaki." Chiga nodded. Although he was not sure, he thought that the Uzumaki in the Land of Grass should be the person Kushina was talking about. "Okay, let's not talk about this. I'll take you to have a good meal to celebrate your passing the first exam. By the way, eat something full so that you have energy to face the second exam." Kushina regained her previous vitality. "Teacher Kushina, what you said conflicts with the invigilator. According to him, it's better to have a good meal before leaving." "Which invigilator said that?" I'm going to beat him up later. Chapter 103 Exam in Progress. In the afternoon, after saying goodbye to Kushina, Chiga came to the examination site and joined Maite and Ebisu. The Forest of Death. As a map commonly used in Konoha villages Chunin exams, it is full of poisonous insects and dangerous beasts. For a genin of average strength, it is not easy to survive in such a harsh environment, not to mention having to face the deep malice of the hostile group. At this time, the candidates have basically arrived. Those who did not come probably chose to withdraw under the threat of death. At 2 o'clock, the examiners of the second exam arrived on time. Seeing that everyone had arrived, the examiner began to talk about the rules of the second exam. This is the location of the second exam, the Death Forest. This time, each of your groups will randomly receive a different scroll, one for heaven, one for earth, and one for man. You need to collect the 3 scrolls of heaven, earth, and man within 5 days, and come to the high tower in the center of the Death Forest to pass the exam. That means at least 2/3 of your group will be eliminated. 2/3. What a high elimination rate. That's at least. Haven't you considered that when you defeat other teams, the scrolls they have in their hands are the same as yours? In that case, 2/3 is only the most ideal situation. The candidates were also a little surprised by such a high elimination rate. However, when they thought about the current number of people, they understood. The number of participants in this year's Chunin exam has reached nearly 500. In the first exam, about 1/3 were eliminated. But even so, there are still more than 300 people participating in the second exam. The number of Chunin promotion places is limited, and each exam needs to eliminate a large number of candidates. After distributing the scrolls to each group, the examiner announced, "Then, the second exam begins now." As soon as he finished speaking, many teams rushed into the Death Forest. Seeing that most teams had entered the Death Forest, Ebisu asked anxiously, "Chiga, are we not going in yet? If we don't go in, the teams inside may have already found an ambush location. In that case, we will be very passive." Ebisu, calm down. The teams entering now are all a group of weak guys. The real strong teams are watching the prey from behind and then follow them. Chiga said perfunctorily, his eyes always fixed on the entrance of the examination room. "So, you have found a target?" Ebisu's eyes lit up. "You are worthy of being the genius of our Konoha. My youth will soon bloom again." Might Guy gave Chiga a thumbs up and appreciated Chiga's behavior. Chiga didn't say anything, but while staring at the entrance, he kept paying attention to the Kyusa ninja team that had observed him, or Kushina, in the morning with his peripheral vision. Soon, the Kusanagi team also entered the Death Forest and disappeared without a trace in a few flashes. Chiga smiled lightly, opened his Sharingan, and then said to Maite and Ebisu, "Follow me." Yes. The 3 Kusanagi who had been running in the Death Forest for a long time stopped, and one of them half crouched on the ground, put his palm on a small grass, and felt it. "Captain, the team of ninjas from the artisan country we are targeting is only 1,000 meters away from us," the perceptive Kusanagi said to the leading Kusanagi. Hearing this, the leading Kusanagi said in a deep voice, "Okay, speed up and catch up. I secretly saw that the ninjas from the artisan country had a human scroll in their hands, which is what we need." At this time, the perceptive Kusanagi sensed something again, and hurriedly said, "Wait, there is also a team 1,000 meters behind us, and they are getting closer and closer. It seems that they have regarded us as their target." "Oh. Can you tell me which village the ninjas are from?" The leading Kusanagi narrowed his eyes slightly, and a hint of murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Although the grass country is a small country now, it was one of the few big countries in the ninja world a long time ago. Although it has declined, some of the inheritance of ninjutsu is still preserved. So compared with other small countries, their strength is also strong. As long as they don't encounter the elite ninjas from the 3 major countries, they dare to try. The perceiving grass ninja shook his head and said, "I don't know. I didn't expect that we were also regarded as prey by others. It's really interesting." Another larger grass ninja sneered. Although the leading grass ninja was a little angry, he still said, "Don't be careless, set up a trap first. After solving the pursuers behind, you can go and find trouble with the ninjas of the artisan country." He also knew that, since his team was targeted, the other party must have regarded them as targets at the entrance. There must be a certain degree of confidence that they can eat them. Therefore, it is necessary to set a trap. The other two grass ninjas also nodded when they heard this, and then placed detonating tags on the surrounding tree trunks and grass, and connected them with thin steel wires. Soon, they set up the trap, and then the three of them hid behind the big tree, waiting for Chiga and the other two to arrive. It seems that the other party has discovered us. Chiga, who was chasing, kept his Sharingan open. Since he obtained the sage body from Tsunade, Chiga's Sharingan has been completely effortless to open, and can be used for a long time. Although the observation ability of the Sharingan is not as strong as the Byakugan, it is not far away from the opponent now, and he can still see what the opponent is doing. Chiga said something to Might Day and Ebisu, and then made seals with his hands, and 3 shadow clones appeared around him in an instant. Under Chiga's command, the 3 shadow clones moved forward quickly and soon came to the opponent's trap. Boom boom boom. The explosion sounded, and it continued, and the dark forest was full of flames. For a moment, the shadow clones that triggered the detonating talisman were blown away without a trace. It seems to be a bunch of garbage. The 3 grass ninjas hid behind the big tree. Seeing their detonating talismans detonated, they immediately smiled and jumped out one after another, ready to clean up the mess. However, when they came out, they found that there were no bodies on the ruins. They immediately realized that the other party had used other means to detonate the detonating tag. At the same time, they also realized that the other party was able to discover the trap they set so quickly, and it was obvious that there were also perception ninjas. And their perception methods were more powerful than theirs. Not good. Retreat first. The leading Kusagakure ninja shouted and prepared to retreat. However, at this moment, Chiga and the other two had already appeared in front of them. Before Chiga could make a move, Might Day behind Chiga was ready to go. He stepped hard, jumped over Chiga, and kicked the leading Kusagakure ninja. Konoha Whirlwind. At this time, hearing the name of this move, the leading Kusagakure ninja also knew who the other party was. His face suddenly became solemn. He didn't expect that he was still a ninja from Konoha. This was troublesome. But it was too late to retreat now. Seeing Might Day's powerful kick, he didn't take it hard, but bent down, dodging the attack, while holding a kunai in his hand, and preparing to stab Might Day's back. Seeing this, Chiga quickly threw out 3 kunai, shooting at the leading Kusanin's fatal spot, blocking the attack of the leading Kusanin. Seeing this, the leading Kusanin could only deal with Chiga's kunai first. He turned around, and paddled in front with a kunai in his hand. Clang clang clang. All the kunai were shot down by the leading Kusanin, falling on the tree trunk and the ground. At this time, Might Day missed his attack, and wanted to turn around, and continue to attack the leading Kusanin, but was entangled by the other 2 Kusanin. The larger Kusanin was also a Kusanin. After sensing the assistance of the Kusanin, the 2 of them beat Might Day back in a short time. Without opening the 8 gates, Might Day's strength was indeed not strong, so he quickly flew backwards in front of Chiga. Uncle Might Day, don't be so anxious. Chiga said helplessly when he saw this. Haha, when I saw that you were the same age as my son, I had the urge to stand in front of you. Might Day also said embarrassedly. In this regard, Chiga did not say anything. This was the way of Might Day's ninja. He would never let his companions get hurt. He would be the first to go if something happened. Okay, Uncle Might Day, you take a rest first, and leave it to me next. Chiga drew out the gale from his waist, and looked at the 3 Kusanagi. When the leading Kusanagi saw that this team of Konoha ninjas was still led by Chiga, his face suddenly changed. The idea of fighting with the Konoha ninjas was extinguished. Although there was no information about Chiga, they still saw Chiga's strength in defeating the rock ninjas in the first exam. They knew that facing such an opponent, they had no chance of winning. However, he did not quite understand why the other party would target him. Was it because he looked at him twice more at that time? Seeing that Chiga was about to take action, the leading Kusanagi hurriedly said to Chiga, "Wait, please stop. We hand over the scroll. Chiga, be careful of fraud." Ebisu reminded Chiga without waiting for a reply. Chiga didn't say anything, just looked at the other party in silence, wanting to see what the other party would say. Seeing this, the leading Kusanagi also explained, please put it down. Before the first exam, I already knew your strength. We don't think we are your opponent. But if we fight to the death, you may not be able to escape unscathed. And if you consume too much chakra on us, the next 5 days will not be so easy to get through. You don't want to make wedding dresses for others, do you? At this point, the Kusanagi showed a confident smile on his face. In his opinion, his words were well founded, and at the end there was a little threat, expressing that his team was not that easy to deal with. Judging from the contact with Might Day, the opponent was only the leader Uchiha Chiga who was a little bit stronger, and the others were not so good. It seems to make sense. Chiga heard the words, and whispered to himself. The leading Kusagakure ninja heard this, and thought that Chiga was tempted, so he quickly seized the opportunity to survive and said, don't worry, sir. I have the Earth Scroll here. If it is the same as the scroll you have, I can also provide you with information. There is a team from the Kingdom of Craftsmen ahead of us. They have the human scroll. Oh. In that case. Chiga laughed. The 3 Kusagakure ninjas heard Chiga say this, and thought that Chiga had let them go. They smiled like Chiga. However, soon after Chiga finished speaking, they became surprised. It doesn't make sense for you to stand next to my Kune? Before they could understand what was going on, they suddenly saw that Chiga, who was standing in front of them, had disappeared. Puff. Then the leading Kusagakure ninja heard two sounds of swords piercing flesh. Then, a pair of scarlet eyes appeared in front of him. After controlling the leading Kusagakure ninja, Chiga turned to Might Day and Ebisu and said, Uncle Might Day and Ebisu, can you two help me keep an eye on the surroundings? I have something to discuss with this Kusagakure ninja. Might Day and Ebisu knew at this point that Chiga must have a personal grudge against this Kusagakure ninja. But they didn't care. Chiga was the captain. After entering the Death Forest, not to mention the Kusagakure ninja, even the ninjas from other Konoha teams were opponents. If they met, they would have to fight, but they wouldn't kill them. After sending the two to the side to be on guard, Chiga asked the Kusagakure ninja, why did you keep an eye on me and the red-haired woman after the first exam? The Kusagakure ninja replied expressionlessly, that woman is also a member of the Uzumaki clan. We want to collect her information and bring her back and wait for a chance to capture her in the future. Do you have a member of the Uzumaki clan in your Kusagakure village? The Kusagakure ninja replied, yes. What's her name? Uzumaki Misa. How old? 18 years old. Chiga nodded. She is the same age as Kushina. It seems that it can be confirmed that the Uzumaki clan in Kusagakure village is Kushina's childhood friend. Next, Chiga asked some more questions about Uzumaki Misa, and the Kusagakure ninja answered all the questions. After asking what he needed to ask, Chiga killed the Kusagakure ninja with a knife. Compared to Kushina's comfortable life in Konoha and her boyfriend, the Uzumaki clan member named Misa is not living a satisfactory life in the land of grass. Although Uzumaki Misa is also a medical ninja, the Kusanagi did not treat her as a human being at all. She only needed a few days of recuperation in the village, but she insisted on biting Uzumaki Misa. She was just treating her as a blood bag. Although there was a sense of coercion, it was also exchanged for Uzumaki Misa's protection of her own safety. As for why the Uzumaki clan members left behind did not come to Konoha Ninja Village, Chiga was silent for a while. The extermination of the Uzumaki clan can be said to be a cloud of doubts. Konoha's lack of assistance also made the Uzumaki clan members full of distrust. But Chiga did not understand the key, and teacher Kushina did not explain it to him in detail, but it seemed that Kushina had obtained some answers from Uzumaki Mito, and she had already come to Konoha Ninja Village, which solved this problem. Chapter 104 The Dejected Crow. Chiga, what the Kusanin said is right. They do have the Earth Scroll in their hands. Together with the Sky Scroll in our hands, as long as we collect the Human Scroll, we can rush to the tower in the center of the Forest of Death. At this time, seeing that Chiga had finished dealing with his own personal affairs, Might Day stepped forward and handed the Earth Scroll he got from the Kusanin to Chiga. Ebisu thought of what the Kusaninja had said before, and said to Chiga excitedly, Chiga, the Kusaninja had said before that there is a team of ninjas from the land of tricksters ahead, and they have the Human Scroll in their hands. So, it seems that we just need to catch up with the ninjas from the land of tricksters. Chiga thought it was a good suggestion. but still shook her head and said, although I don't think the Kusa ninja is lying, I still decided not to chase that team of ninjas from the land of tricksters. The other party can become the target of the Kusa ninja. I think the strength of the ninjas from the land of tricksters is not strong. Chiga, you can deal with the Kusa ninja so easily, and it should be easy to deal with the ninjas from the land of tricksters. Ebisu said, puzzled. In the puzzled eyes of Might Day and Ebisu, Chiga explained, you should remember that when we were in the Hokage's office, the third Hokage had another task for me, right? Might Day and Ebisu remembered that the third Hokage had said that there was a special task that required the cooperation of the two of them. Is it a mission that can only be completed in this exam? Might Day asked after hearing this. Kyan nodded and said, yes, it is an assassination mission with a mission level of B in this Chunin exam. The third Hokage needs me to kill 3 candidates, namely Kari from the land of Earth, Ichito and Maki from the land of Wind. Here are their information. After saying that, Kyan took out the information from the ninja tool bag and handed it to the two. After reading the information of the 3 people, the two also understood what the third Hokage meant. Assassinating genius ninjas from other countries is a common practice in all countries. However, such tasks are generally assigned to the Anbu of each country. Now it is probably because of the Chunin exam, and the opportunity is rare. And even if other countries know about it, the other party has nothing to say to blame. After all, you are not as skilled as others, you should admit it. And among the 3 exams, only this exam is the best opportunity. The first one is a written test and there is no possibility of fighting. And the third one does have a chance to kill. But that is an individual competition. Whether you can meet the opponent in the competition is not to be discussed for the time being. Instead, the third match will be attended by the third Kazakage, the third Hokage, and the daimyo of various countries. It will be a grand match, and the referee will be a powerful ninja. If the opponent is doomed to die, they will try to stop him, unless Chiga can kill him instantly. And killing the genius of the opponent in front of the cage is really embarrassing. Assassination. We will definitely cooperate with you to complete the task, Chiga. As a ninja, the main task is to complete the task. The Chunin exam is held every year. If it's not this year, then next year. Not to mention, the two have never received such an assassination task. The first time they accepted such a task, both of them showed excitement on their faces. B-level task, Might Day, haven't accepted such a high-level task for many years. I will definitely not let down the third Hokage's trust in me. Burn, my youth. Even Might Day stood up excitedly, waving his fists, with tears in his eyes. Chiga, if you show your 8 gates, you can take on not only B-level missions, but also S-level missions. Okay, let's complete this assassination mission first. As for passing the second exam, don't worry, maybe among the people we need to assassinate there is the scroll we want. Hearing this, Might Day and Ebisu also smiled dumbly. Then, Might Day thought for a while and said, however, it's a bit difficult to find 3 people in such a large forest of death in 5 days. Leave the matter of finding people to me. Chiga smiled, then took out a scroll, spread it out, and summoned his crows. Dozens of crows stopped in front of Chiga. The leader was Crow Feather, and when it was summoned by Chiga, it stood on Chiga's shoulder, which was its exclusive position. Chiga stretched out his hand to touch Crow Feather, but saw that Crow Feather actually pecked his palm. What are you doing? Why are you so angry lately? Yeu cried out unhappily. What? Are you weak? Kyan was shocked, and then he remembered that Yeu was scared by him twice, and he had a psychological shadow. Every time they mate, they are much faster. In order to comfort Yeu, Kyan couldn't help but say distressedly, Yeu, I heard that the Inuzuka clan recently produced a kind of animal power pill. Eating it can not only strengthen the body, but also restore the masculinity. I plan to buy you a few. Really? I'll buy it after the exam is over. Yeu heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he could already think of the female crow wailing under him. Gab. Hearing this, not to mention Yeu, the rest of the crows also climaxed collectively. This time, the crows summoned by Kyan were male, because most of the female crows were pregnant, and some had to take care of newborn crows. It's no wonder that, with Kyan's intention, this group of crows has reproduced very quickly. Now there are 1,000 crows, doubling their number. Of course, the consequence of this effort to reproduce is that the male crows are all listless and the husband's power is weak. Now hearing about this powerful pill, their eyes immediately light up. Okay, we have them all. Okay. Kyan listened to the noise of the crows and agreed distressedly. It seems that a large expense cannot be avoided. Fortunately, there are 2S level missions as a base, plus a sum of money from Tsunade. Otherwise, Kyan would really have to worry about money. However, he originally thought that this group of crows did not reproduce fast enough. Now that there is such a good thing, of course he is willing to spend money to buy it. You know, the power of his self-developed crow secret technique is determined by the number of crows. If the number exceeds 10,000, plus Kyan has enough chakra, Kyan dares to try to massacre the village. After chatting with the crows for a while, Chiga got down to business. He took out photos of Kari, Ichito, and Maki, and told the crows, find them. After memorizing the appearance of the three, the crows flew high into the sky and then scattered. We'll rest here for one night and wait for my crows to find them before we take action. Chiga looked up at the sky and found that it was gradually getting dark. Yes, Maite and Ebisu agreed. Chapter 105, Rock Ninja's Plan. At night, somewhere in the Death Forest, a group of Iwagakure gathered together, and the leader was one of Chiga's targets, Kari. As a genin with a bloodline limit burst release in Iwagakure, Kari was the strongest among the genin. And in the world of ninjas, it all comes down to who has the fist. Kari looked at the Iwagakure around him and asked, are all of them here? Yeah, almost. The others who haven't arrived probably met ninjas from other countries and were killed or eliminated. An Iwagakure replied, HMPH, a bunch of trash. Shao snorted coldly, not caring, but said, the third Suchi kid said that this time we have only one goal, to kill the guy named Uchiha Chiga. We already have a general grasp of the opponent's information. He is proficient in fire style and wind style, and has a 2 Magatama Sharingan. He also mastered a sound-based illusion that uses the sound of crows. That illusion is a group attack, and it is most obviously restrained against so many of us. So you must see that the opponent summons crows, and don't spare a single one. The most important thing is that Uchiha Chiga can also use the Flying Thunder God technique. Flying Thunder God technique? Is it that space-time ninjutsu? Iwagakure asked in surprise. Shao nodded, and then said, yes, he used this space-time ninjutsu to kidnap our old purple Sama. And this space-time ninjutsu is very powerful when escaping, so we must limit it. Do you have a specific plan? Don't worry, before I came, the third Suchi kid Sama had already given me a secret weapon to deal with him, but launching that ninjutsu requires our collective cooperation, and it takes a lot of time, and someone needs to delay for 30 seconds. So, who will be the bait? At this point, Shao glanced around, and found that no one volunteered to sign up. There was no way. Kyan showed too much strength. It's not that they didn't want to go, but they were really afraid that they would go and never come back. It's like fishing. The bait is eaten, but the fish is not hooked. After all, the opponent has many ninjutsu, and there are Sharingan and Flying Thunder God jutsu, which genin can have so many tricks. 30 seconds is enough for the opponent to kill him again and again. Let my team go. Ichigo, who was also listed as a target by Kyan, said. Shao nodded and agreed to Ichigo's request. Apart from him, Ichigo's team was the strongest here. Be careful, don't get discovered or killed by the other side. HMPH, don't underestimate me. The Death Forest is not big, but not small either. It was not until dawn that Crowfeather flew back. Chiga, who had closed his eyes to rest, suddenly opened his eyes at Crowfeather's cry. Seeing that Chiga knew he was back, Crowfeather circled in the air for a few circles and flew towards the depths of the forest. Chiga saw this and immediately said to Maite and Ebisu, follow him. Then he took the lead and followed Crowfeather. Chiga and the other two acted quickly. They moved flexibly between the trees and tried to keep quiet. Soon, they came to the place where Crowfeather saw, but it was empty at this moment. Chiga opened his Sharingan and carefully checked the ground. He soon found a row of messy footprints, which were obviously left by someone in a hurry. Following the direction of the footprints, Chiga looked over. The insight of the Sharingan allowed him to quickly lock onto a team not far ahead. It was the team of Ichigo Ichito of the Iwagakure. Chiga did not hesitate, and he rushed out like the wind, followed closely by Might Day and Ebisu. Run. The moment Chiga caught up, Ichigo had already noticed him, and was immediately delighted, and then led his teammates to run towards the place they agreed on. Chiga and the other two chased closely for a while, and found that the other party was just running away, and suddenly felt something was wrong. Chiga, be careful that the other party will set a trap. Might Day, who has been a genin for many years, reminded Chiga. Chiga nodded, understanding Might Day's concerns, and he himself was a little confused. The other party was a genius boy in the Hidden Rock Village after all. Even if he knew that he was very strong, he would not be so careless that he would not even think of resisting and just run away. Fire style, fire dragon technique. Chiga did not want to follow the other party's wishes, so he took a deep breath and shot out a flame. The scorching heat coming from behind made Ichito turn his head and take a look. His face suddenly changed. Be careful of the fire escape. Hearing the voice of their captain, the two rock ninjas also changed their faces and dodged sideways. Although the powerful flames did not hit the three people of Ichito due to Ichito's reminder, they shot the giant tree in front of them in half. The fallen giant tree also stopped the three people of Ichito. Damn, there are still 15 seconds to go. Everyone, go all out. Seeing this, Ichito knew that he couldn't just run away to delay time, and he still needed to fight head on. He said something to his teammates, then turned around and prepared to fight Chiga. The two rock ninjas also turned around after hearing this, and the three of them prepared to fight Chiga together. But at this moment, a Kyune suddenly hit the fallen giant tree, and then Ichito and the three suddenly saw Chiga, who was originally in front of them, disappear. After a slight pause, they immediately felt the killing intent coming from behind. They turned their heads stiffly and saw Kyan holding a samurai sword and slashing at the head of an Iwagakure. The three people of Ichigo stood up with goosebumps. Flying Thunder God technique. Is this the space-time ninjutsu? Exclamation mark. Swish. The cold light of the wind burst out, just like cutting tofu, splitting the Iwagakure in half. Aren't you going to escape? The blood splashed on Kyan's face, making Kyan look like a devil from hell, coming to claim his life. Arsehole, don't be too proud. Seeing this, Ichigo and another Iwagakure glared in anger. They didn't expect that their teammates would die at the hands of Kyan after just one encounter. Whether it was for revenge or to delay Kyan, the two of them burst out with all their strength. Go to hell. Ichigo took out his samurai sword and entangled with Kyan at the risk of his life. Seeing this, the other Iwagakure also made seals with both hands, ready to use ninjutsu to support. Unfortunately, Kyan was not alone. Konoha whirlwind. Might Guy kicked over and hit the face of the Iwagakure who was performing the ninjutsu. The powerful kick made the opponent sink directly into the tree trunk, and it was not certain that he could get out. After killing another Iwagakure, only Ichigo was left in the field, still struggling in Chiga's hands. And Ichigo also understood that he seemed to be in a desperate situation, and suddenly burst out with a strong desire to survive, and he roared. Kerry, are you ready? I can't bear it anymore. Chiga was slightly startled by these words, and the gust of wind in his hand was as fast as lightning, and he was ready to kill Ichigo with a knife. However, at this moment, the ground began to shake. Chapter 106. The seventh door, open. The strong tremor made Chiga unable to stand for a while. He squatted down to stabilize his body and turned his head to look around. Only then did he realize that there were dozens of chakras around him. These dozens of chakras gathered underground and were condensing an unprecedented earth escape technique. My goodness, all the rock ninjas were brought here. Chiga's face changed drastically, and he immediately gave up Ichigo and shouted to Might Day and Ebisu, come to me. Seeing Chiga's anxious face, Might Day and Ebisu also knew that the situation was critical, so they ran towards Chiga. It's too late, Uchiha Chiga. You and your teammates will die here. Ha ha ha. Ichigo, who had saved his life, still had a look of relief on his face. After he made a harsh remark to Chiga, he used earth escape technique to hide in the ground. Chiga ignored it. As long as he avoided this ninjutsu, Ichigo would die in his hands sooner or later. Now let him be proud for a while. Boom. Boom. A violent sound sounded, the earth was cracking, and the huge trees were completely buried underground in the vibration. Unfortunately, the terrain changed too quickly, and it was difficult for Kion and the other two to stand steadily, let alone run. The three of them bumped into each other, and had to avoid the fallen trees. It was really difficult to gather together for a while. Then, a series of tall and thick earth walls rose from the ground, and a rock ninja stood on each earth wall. After these earth walls were connected to each other, they formed an encirclement, surrounding Kion and the other two. When the big earthquake occurred in the Death Forest, the faces of the invigilators outside also changed slightly. What happened? Such a strong vibration. Someone is performing a large-scale ninjutsu inside. Go and see which area it is. Through the monitor, carried by the flying summon beast in the sky, the invigilators finally saw the appearance inside. In the Death Forest, dozens of 50-meter high earth walls surrounded a semicircle, and there were unknown talismans on these walls. The red light emanating from it enveloped the entire wall. Oh my god, a dungeon was built in the Death Forest. This ninjutsu is definitely not something that a genin can perform, let alone a jonin. It should be that the same ninjutsu performed by multiple people can cause such an effect. What does the talisman above mean? Let me see. Wow, it's some kind of sealing technique. The specific purpose is not very clear, but it seems to be able to prohibit certain ninjutsu. Damn, are the ninjas from the land of Earth joining forces to fight the enemy? Which country's ninjas are they from? From the replay, our Konoha village's Uchiha Chiga team appeared there. What? Are they targeting our Konoha? Damn the land of Earth. With so many people coming to participate in the Chunin exam, we know they have bad intentions. Do we want to enter the termination? No, the rules say that you can use any means necessary, which means that joining forces is also possible. Damn, are we just going to watch the other side kill the genius in our village? A group of examiners could only wait anxiously outside. Their mission was to ensure that there was no interference from outsiders in the second exam. As for the people inside, they could not go in and intervene. This was the rule of the Chunin exam, and they could not violate it. After all, the leading jonins from other countries were also watching the exam. In the Death Forest, such a big commotion also attracted the attention of Sarutobi Hiruzen. He was originally in the Hokage's office using some pink pictures to cleanse his increasingly aging soul. But just as he was about to watch, he saw the ground move, and Sarutobi Hiruzen's face froze slightly. Then Hatake Tsukumo, dressed in Anbu, appeared in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen, and said in a deep voice, "Third Hokage, there is a problem in the Death Forest. Take me to see." When the two came to the monitoring room of the Death Forest, Kushina and Minato and other jonins also arrived. Not only that, the leading jonins from other countries also rushed over. Originally, because the second exam took too long, they could not watch it all the time. After the accident, they all came to see the excitement. What happened? I heard that the ninjas from the land of Earth asked all participating teams to attack a genius ninja from Konoha. TSK, big deal. Aren't they afraid of falling out with Konoha? There is no rule in the Chunin exam that prohibits joining forces. There will be something interesting to watch. After knowing what happened, the ninjas from various countries all showed expressions of watching a good show. Kushina was immediately furious and said, "Iwagakure, you are crazy. You actually asked all the teams to fight against one team together. Do you really not care about the Chunin exam? Sorry, we don't know when the people under our command joined together. I'm sorry if it has caused you any trouble." The leading Iwagakure had a look on his face that deserved a beating, and he lied with his eyes open. Just by looking at the sealing talisman that the Iwagakure brought with him, and the large-scale earth escape technique that he had prepared for a long time, even a fool could see that the Iwagakure had planned this for a long time. This made Kushina so angry that she was ready to attack the Iwagakure on the spot. If it weren't for Minato who kept stopping them, coupled with the arrival of Sarutobi Hiruzen, a fight almost broke out. Seeing Sarutobi Hiruzen, Kushina immediately said, "Old Hokage, I'm going in to stop them. We can't let so many of them besiege Chiga." Kushina, don't make trouble. This is the Chunin exam, not a game. You can't enter just because you want to. Sarutobi Hiruzen shouted at Kushina. Seeing that Kushina was about to refute, Minato grabbed Kushina's hand and motioned her to calm down. Then he comforted her. Don't worry, Chiga is stronger than you think. Compared to Kushina, Minato is the one who knows Chiga's strength best among the people present. Whether it is a self-created crow secret technique illusion or the huge amount of chakra, it is enough to deal with this group of rock ninjas. What's more, there is the flying thunder god technique to escape. At this time, the leading rock ninja sneered. That kid named Uchiha Chiga is indeed quite powerful, but I'm not afraid to tell you that those sealing spells were developed to target your flying thunder god technique. It is impossible for that kid to leave the earth prison with the flying thunder god technique. Hearing this, Minato looked at the rock ninja and looked at him carefully. He felt that he looked familiar. Then, as if he suddenly remembered something, he said in surprise, "You are from that time. Oh, do you remember? I have never forgotten you, and the two kids under you." A trace of hatred flashed in the rock ninja's eyes. He was the Jonin who led the team in the Land of Hot Water and was about to bring back the Four Tails Jinchuriki Laozi. The plan had been implemented, but Minato intervened and caused it to fail. Of course, he wanted to report this great humiliation in person. It was an accident, Minato explained. However, the rock ninja didn't believe it at all and just sneered. "Don't say it, I have always remembered what you did, but this time I came to participate in the Chunin exam. If there is a chance, we will see the truth on the battlefield. I, Yamakoa, will never retreat. I hope you can remember this sentence in the future." Minato narrowed his eyes slightly. The opponent began to speak harshly, and he would not show weakness. In the examination room, as the earth wall closed, the vibration finally stopped, and Chiga and the other two gathered together. However, just when Chiga was about to launch the Flying Thunder God technique, he found that he could not sense the Flying Thunder God mark 100 meters away. At this time, Chiga's face was completely gloomy. "It's a bit troublesome. My Flying Thunder God technique can't be used," Chiga said to Might Day and Ebisu. He didn't expect that the other party would spend such a huge manpower to deal with him. It seems that the third Tsuchikage wants to kill Konoha's genius more than Sarutobi Hiruzen. Doing this is completely reckless. Uchiha Chiga. The wall was not closed tightly, and there was a small gap on the top. Chiga heard someone calling him, looked up, and saw Shao with a smug smile on his face. "You spent so much manpower to deal with me. It seems that you, the third Tsuchikage, have issued an order to kill me," Chiga said. He received an assassination mission from Sarutobi Hiruzen, but he would kill if he could, and it didn't matter if he couldn't. But looking at the posture of the Iwagakure, it was a must kill for him. "Of course, you kidnapped Laozishin in front of Lord Yamakoa. You really made Lord Yamakoa lose face." Hearing this, Chiga also remembered that it seemed that the tenor was the Yamakoa mentioned by Shao. Before Chiga could reply, Shao continued with a sneer. "Also, you have offended not only Lord Yamakoa, but also those ninjas from the sealing class. In order to deal with your Flying Thunder God technique, they worked day and night and finally created a barrier that can prevent you from escaping with the Flying Thunder God technique. Okay, Shao, stop talking so much. Kill him, complete the task assigned by the third Tsuchikage, and then go collect the scrolls. Maybe we can continue with the Chunin exam." His two teammates died at the hands of Chiga and Might Day. Ichito was now full of hatred for Chiga. He wanted to watch Chiga die here. "Let this earth escape be your burial place." Shao sneered and stopped talking to Chiga. He turned his head and shouted to the rock ninja, "Everyone, do it." "Okay." All the rock ninjas present smiled grimly upon hearing this, and then formed seals at the same time. "Earth escape, when I and Tsukubeng." The rock ninjas slapped their hands on the earth wall, and the solid earth wall began to tremble violently. Then, huge stones appeared and fell down from the top. Boom boom boom. The huge stones were like meteorites, and a huge meteorite crater was created when they hit them. "It's over. This earth wall is going to collapse. The other party wants to bury us alive," Ebisu said desperately while dodging the stones. He thought that with Chiga's Flying Thunder God technique, escaping would not be a problem at all, but now he heard that the other party had used a sealing technique to prohibit space-time ninjutsu. Then their hope of escaping was completely gone. And this earth wall was not only thick, but also quite strong. He could never break it. Even Chiga thought that there was no way to break it. Compared with Ebisu, who looked desperate, Chiga and Mighty Day were much calmer. The two of them talked to each other while dodging the stones. Chiga, please protect Ebisu later, Mighty Day said calmly, as if he had made up his mind. Chiga made hand seals with both hands and frowned and asked Mighty Day, Uncle Mighty Day, take it easy, don't open the 8th gate. This opponent is not worth it for you to do so. The 8 gates of ninjutsu can unlock all restrictions in the human body and gain the power of a shadow level strongman. However, the risk and destructive power of any technique are proportional. As the strongest physical technique, the 8 gates of ninjutsu will increase the damage to the body every time a restriction is unlocked. Opening the 8th gate will definitely lead to death. You know the 8 gates of ninjutsu? Mighty Day was surprised, but didn't think much about it. Then he smiled bitterly and said, I have practiced hard for more than 20 years, but I can only open the 7th gate at present. I can't use the 8th gate you mentioned. Is that so? That's enough, Uncle Mighty Day, then I'll leave it to you. Chiga heard the words and put down his hand that had been making seals. This time, he was really a little glad that his teammate was Mighty Day. Otherwise, with this barrier plus earth escape, he would really expose his trump card, the Sage Mode. Moreover, it is not so easy to collect natural energy, and Kyan is not very proficient in using it at present. So if it is possible not to expose it, it is better not to expose it. Since Mighty Guy wants to take action, and he will not die from opening the 8 gates, then Kyan is not allowed to take action. Okay, I'm not very proficient in the 8 gates of the ninja. In order to ensure that I can break this earth wall and barrier, I must open the 7th gate. And in that case, the side effects will be a bit big. Maybe after breaking the earth wall, I will lose my combat ability. Then I can only leave it to you. Don't worry, after breaking this earth wall, none of them will be able to leave the death forest alive, Kyan said solemnly. In any case, this earth escape plus barrier really restricts his ability too much. But if he breaks through this earth escape, he will let these rock ninjas know what cruelty is. What on earth are you two talking about? The 7 gates and 8 gates? Ebisu listened to the two people's conversation in confusion, but he understood one thing, that is, both of them actually have the means to break this situation. Chiga is fine, but what is the reason why Uncle Mighty Day can break it? Mighty Day looked back at him and laughed. I don't know ninjutsu or illusion. For the sake of the ninjutsu in my heart and to protect the people important to me, I practice day after day. The only skill I have mastered is the 8 gates of ninjutsu. You two are the new generation of Konoha, so let me, an old guy who always talks about youth, burn for you once. As he said, Mighty Day's eyes suddenly burned with blazing fire. He stood in place, clenched his fists, and veins on his forehead bulged. The first gate of the 8 gates of ninjutsu, open, open. The second gate of the 8 gates of ninjutsu, the rest gate, open. The 7th gate of the 8 gates of ninjutsu, the shock gate, open. Chapter 107 1 person per second. Mighty roared, and blue flames suddenly formed all over his body. The majestic chakra soared into the sky, shattering everything around him. What a terrifying chakra. Ebisu showed a look of astonishment on his face. He had never thought that the middle-aged uncle who kept talking about youth could burst out with such strength. Watch carefully, learn well. The power of Uncle Mighty's next move may be something you can never achieve in your lifetime. Kyan also looked at the scene in front of him with excitement. If it weren't for the fact that the practice of the 8 gates of ninjutsu was too harsh, he really had the urge to learn it right now. At this moment, the blue flames around Mighty suddenly turned white and kept rotating and compressing around Mighty. Then a faint figure appeared in the white flames. As the figure gradually became clear, a force that could destroy the world suddenly formed. The flames continued to gather into the figure and finally formed a lifelike white tiger. Daytime tiger. Mighty Guy roared, crossing his hands and pointing forward. Roar. The white tiger, which was already as real as a substance, roared and ran towards the earth wall. At the same time, the rock ninja on the earth wall was still putting his hands on the earth wall, constantly performing earth escape. However, some rock ninja with strong perception had already discovered something was wrong. Kerry, there is a very strong chakra inside. I feel something is wrong. It seems that a powerful ninjutsu is being released inside. Don't panic. This earth wall is formed by the condensation of our 15 teams, plus the barrier. It will never be destroyed. Kerry comforted him, but as soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly saw a white light appear on the wall inexplicably. What's going on? Is the wall collapsing? Run, it's going to explode. Although Kerry felt that his face was about to be swollen, he couldn't joke with his own life and the lives of the rock ninjas, so he could only shout loudly, "Retreat first." As more and more white light was revealed in the wall, the collapse of the earth wall suddenly accelerated. Finally, the tiger was out of the cage. The whole forest was illuminated by the sudden burst of white light. The whole world seemed to be quiet. There was no sound, and then there was a strong vibration. Boom. The power of one move made the world pale. The terrifying energy fluctuations were vast between the world, and the invisible pressure rushed to the surroundings like a raging sea. Some unlucky rock ninjas retreated along the path of the day tiger. Once they came into contact with the day tiger, they were crushed to pieces, and their limbs were scattered. After a long time, everything was quiet. The semicircular earth wall with a diameter of 50 meters had been removed by half. In the Death Forest, the terrain was changed by the rock ninja's earth escape, and this time it was plowed again by a white tiger. What is this? What a terrible ninjutsu. This is probably the power of a shadow, right? Is it that kid? No, it looks like that 10,000-year-old genin. I heard that his name is Might Day. Yes, good guy. Konoha must have been prepared for this, otherwise how could such a talent still be a genin? The other country's jonin who were discussing it felt that this matter was not simple. Although it is outrageous that the rock ninja teamed up to target the Konoha ninja, it is still within the rules. But isn't your Konoha's counterattack a bit too much? Directly put a ninja with special talents disguised as a genin in it? How is it possible? Yamakura was shocked, although he was just looking at the screen, to feel the power of the day tiger. But that terrifying posture is impossible for a genin to release. Third generation Hokage, I suspect you are cheating. Disguising a ninja who has become a jonin as a genin to participate in the competition. Yamakura questioned. Not to mention him, ninjas from other countries also think so. Otherwise who can explain the strength of Tong Might Day? Yamakura Jonin, you may not believe it when I tell you, this is actually the same as when I tied up your Four Tails Jinchuriki. It was really an accident. Sarutobi Hirozen pulled his hat, and his words were not credible at all. Not to mention Yamakura, ninjas from other countries also looked unconvinced. Only the ninjas of Konoha looked indescribable. Of course, they also knew the ninja Might Day. It was not because Might Day was still a genin for more than 20 years. It was because every morning, when he woke up, he could see a weirdo walking upside down on the street, and it was hard not to remember him. But he didn't expect that such a weirdo could burst out with such strength. Third generation Hokage, this matter, when our third generation Tsuchikage comes, you Konoha must give us an explanation for the Land of Earth. Yamakura also knew that, although he was currently the representative of the Rock Ninja, he was not qualified to ask the third generation Hokage to give him an explanation. He could only wait for the third generation Tsuchikage to come. Hey, everything I said is true. Sarutobi Hirozen sighed helplessly when he thought that the third generation Tsuchikage Inoki would come to pursue the responsibility. He felt a headache. But fortunately, Might Day's life trajectory and the tasks he completed were all recorded in Konoha. Anyone who was pulled out could know that there was such a genin in Konoha village. Sure old man, I was not satisfied with the two teammates you arranged for Chiga, but I didn't expect there would be such a thing. I knew you had planned it well. Seeing this, Kushina was only happy that Chiga was out of danger, and she was in a good mood. Now she was also thinking that the excitement was not big enough, so she said this deliberately. Kushina, I really didn't know Might Day had such a talent. Sarutobi Hirozen felt that it was okay for him to be misunderstood by outsiders. At most he would be said to be cunning, but if he was misunderstood by his own family, it would affect his glorious image in Konoha village. Don't be funny. Kushina looked unconvinced. Sarutobi Hirozen was also crying without tears. Well, after being tricked by Kushina, it was time to change his title of ninja hero in the ninja world. I don't know what he will be called. Ninja traitor? In the Death Forest, the surviving rock ninjas have gathered together. There were originally 15 teams, and only 10 were left. It's not that the Day Tiger is not powerful enough, but Might Day's main goal is to destroy the wall so that they can get out of trouble. In addition, the rock ninja retreated in time at the last moment. Otherwise, every rock ninja here would have died in the daytime tiger. However, these 30 rock ninjas did not have the courage to launch an attack. Even the leader, Carrie, looked at Might Day with horror. At this time, Might Day's face was flushed, and his whole body was emitting blue flames. They already knew who released the previous ninjutsu. So when they saw Might Day's appearance, they did not dare to step forward. "Uncle Might Day, please release the 8 gates." Chiga stepped forward and walked to Might Day's side and said. Might Day turned his head and looked at Chiga. After hesitating for a while, he still said, "Let me do it. It's not easy to open the 7 gates once. If they are closed, I may not be able to open them again in a short time." What he meant was that he was still a little worried about Chiga. After all, the other side had 30 rock ninjas. If Chiga couldn't deal with them, then they would never have a chance to turn the tables. In response, Kyan simply said in an unyielding tone, "Close it, I will be their opponent next." He also knew something about the 8 gates of ninjutsu. Although the opening of the 7th gate would not kill Might Guy, it would still cause great damage to his body. In addition, Might Guy had already used the Day Tiger, and this powerful physical technique would only cause greater damage to his body. However, Might Guy was allowed to continue fighting, although it would not take much time to deal with these 30 rock ninjas. But at this moment, every time Might Guy moved, his body would suffer damage. Kyan could even hear the sound of Might Guy's muscles tearing and bones cracking. He was also doing it for Might Guy's good. If he continued to use it, Might Guy might have sequelae. Might Guy heard Kyan's tone and understood that Kyan should be confident in dealing with these 30 rock ninjas, so he stopped insisting. And at the moment, when he released the 8 gates of ninjutsu, the terrifying aura disappeared instantly. The whole person fell to the ground at once. And Might Day was lying on the ground, his whole body in pain and tears falling, screaming heartbreakingly. Ebisu hurriedly wanted to go forward to help Might Day up, but Chiga stopped him and said, "Don't move him. He's in pain all over now. Just let him rest for a while." The rock ninja on the opposite side saw the Konoha ninja. That frightened them falling to the ground and wailing, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Good opportunity. The other guy seems to have reached his limit. Sure enough, there must be a price to use such a terrifying ninjutsu. Now is a good time to kill him before he recovers. But that Uchiha Chiga is still here, and he looks in good condition. We have 30 people. Are we afraid of him alone? That's right, since the previous Earth escape didn't kill him, let's go together. Okay. When the rock ninjas saw that Might Day was weak, they immediately clamored to chop Chiga into pieces. Looking at the rock ninja rushing up, Chiga sneered. He took out a summoning scroll from his ninja tool bag and threw it high into the air. With a puff of smoke, hundreds of crows appeared in the sky. These crows were all black, but there was a special pattern under the wings of each crow. Crow secret technique, shadow 1,000 crows. And this was just the beginning. Kyan formed seals with his hands, and the hundreds of crows circling in the air instantly turned into thousands. The huge number of crows covered the sky. The rock ninja only felt that the sky above them became dark, and then they saw these thousands of crows attacking them. Humph, don't be afraid, they are just clones of crows. In fact, there are still hundreds of crows. Just a few ninjutsu can destroy them all. Don't let him have the opportunity to use the crows to release illusions. The leader, Kyan, summoned the crows and shouted immediately. At the same time, he took the lead and punched the crows rushing towards him. Explosion style, landmine fist. Boom. After an explosion, several crows were blown to pieces, and some of the crows in the crow flock disappeared. As long as the crow's original body is destroyed, the crow's clone will also disappear. Shao sneered, "Is this all you can do?" He didn't care when he heard that. He just drew out his samurai sword. Seeing that the crows had surrounded all the rock ninjas, the Megatama in his eyes scanned the rock ninjas and then stared at Shao. 30 people. 30 seconds. Shao heard that he meant to kill one person in 1 second, and he was furious. Just as he was about to speak, he saw Kai's figure disappear. His face changed, and before he could shout to the rock ninjas to be careful, he heard a scream from behind. Ah. Xiao turned his head and saw Kai stabbing a rock ninja in the heart with a knife. You are looking for death. Xiao shouted angrily and then rushed towards Kai. However, the moment he moved, Kai's figure disappeared again. Ah. Screams came one after another. Kai's figure appeared and disappeared in the crows, and no one knew where Kai would appear next time. Don't get close to the crows, this guy's using crows. Before a rock ninja who discovered the key problem could finish his words, Chiga had already cut his throat with a knife. The blood kept flowing out of his mouth, making him unable to say the next words. The killing continued, and the number of rock ninjas was dying at a rate of 1 per second, just as Chiga said. Don't kill me. I surrender. Hand over the scroll. Faced with the rock ninjas' pleas for mercy, Chiga remained unmoved and just continued to clean up the rock ninjas at his own pace. Ebisu took care of Might Day while watching the scene in front of him. Even Chiga's teammates felt a chill in their hearts. Not to mention the thick-browed Might Day, they thought they were teamed up with Might Day because Might Day was experienced and could give them a lot of advice. But they didn't expect that Might Day actually had a unique skill that he had practiced for more than 20 years, and his explosion shocked the audience. And Chiga, although he didn't have the means of scaring people to death with one move like Might Day, but that elusive figure, coupled with Chiga's scholar eyes and clean and sharp swordsmanship, simply completed the killing into a performance. God knows what kind of god teammate he met. It was a complete game of winning without doing anything. The killing in the Death Forest continued. Although the scene was not as shocking as Might Day's daytime tiger, it made the Yamakura and Iwagakure watching sullenly. They knew that none of the Iwagakure under their group of Jonin could leave here alive. However, just like when Chiga and others were trapped, they could not enter the Death Forest to save their genin. Third generation Hokage. Congratulations to Konoha for having such a genius. Let's go. Yamakura couldn't bear to watch it anymore, gritted his teeth and said, and left here with the Iwagakure. When the ninjas from other countries saw this, they also said goodbye to the third generation Hokage. Might Day's move and the scene of Uchiha Chiga's massacre made them understand that the third exam of this Chunin exam would be a mess. Ninjas from no country would dare to fight Might Day and Uchiha Chiga. After they met them, they would definitely give up the exam. Sarutobi Hiruzen also fell silent. He didn't care about the massacre of the Iwagakure in the ninja exam. After all, the other party had joined forces before, and he was defeated because he was inferior to them. He couldn't blame anyone. But Chiga was probably completely included in the must-kill list by the Land of Earth. Even if the Chunin exam is over, Chiga can't think of leaving the village in a short time. The third Tsuchikage will definitely issue an assassination mission to kill Chiga. At this moment, the Iwagakure in Konoha are probably very happy to take on this task. After all, the Iwagakure who came to take the exam are all their subordinates. Chapter 108 Sarutobi Hiruzen's Perfunctory. As the foreign ninjas left, Sarutobi Hiruzen began to praise Chiga. Not bad. Using the shadow crows, the opponent can't tell where the crows are, and at the same time hiding your own shadow, and then using the flying thunder god technique to harvest the enemy. This idea is very good, and Chiga's flying thunder god technique is also very skillful. Minato, you taught well. Seeing that Chiga was able to master the use of the flying thunder god technique so quickly, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that it was mostly Minato's credit. You are too kind. Minato smiled awkwardly after hearing this, but he didn't say much rationally. The strength that Chiga burst out was already amazing enough. If everyone knew that Chiga's flying thunder god technique was basically self-taught, it would be too evil. Minato's emotional intelligence is still online. Knowing that the Konoha high-level officials at the moment don't have a good impression of the Uchiha clan. If he continues to be evil, it will easily cause trouble for Chiga. Although it feels like there are endless troubles now, it is better to have less trouble than more. Seeing Sarutobi Hiruzen praising his disciple, Kushina was quite happy at first, but when she heard that Minato taught well, Kushina was unhappy and corrected. Old man, who told you that it was Minato who taught you? It was obviously me. Okay. Oh, yes, you taught well. Sarutobi Hiruzen rolled his eyes at Kushina. How could a person as stubborn as you teach the flying thunder god jutsu, a time-space ninjutsu that no one with a certain IQ can understand? but he didn't dare to say this out loud, otherwise Kushina would be furious. Sarutobi Hiruzen's sarcastic tone also caused dissatisfaction in Kushina. She bared her teeth and claws at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said angrily, "Old man, how dare you treat me perfunctorily?" Seeing that Kushina was about to stroke his beard, Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately changed the subject and said seriously, "Kushina, next I need you to discuss the next plan with Chiga." "The next plan? What is there to discuss?" Kushina stopped immediately and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen in confusion. You also saw that before the group of rock ninjas left, they looked at Chiga with murderous intent. Although they are not as skilled as others, it is impossible to just let it go. Although the Land of Earth dare not issue assassination missions openly, it will definitely hand over assassination missions to the underground bounty agency. Sarutobi Hiruzen explained. So I plan to stop him from going out to accept missions for Chiga's safety. Of course, this is only temporary. After a year or so, when this storm is over and the situation has calmed down, Chiga will be allowed to leave the village. Sarutobi Hiruzen suggested. He actually had plans for Chiga a long time ago, and this arrangement is indeed the best choice for Chiga. Hearing about the safety of her own disciples, Kushina immediately became serious. Indeed, ninjas have many assassination methods. Although Chiga can evade most of the pursuits with his flying thunder god technique, he will be hard to resist if he is poisoned or something like that. He is still young and still lacks experience. Old man, I understand. I will talk to Chiga and let him stay in the village for a while. It just so happens that I haven't teamed up with Chiga to do D-level missions for a long time. Kushina nodded, indicating that she agreed with Sarutobi Hiruzen's arrangement. Nothing is more important than the safety of his disciples. Seeing that Kushina agreed, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't say anything else. He just looked at Chiga on the screen and sighed. Next, I have to think about how to give an explanation to the old guy Inoki. The third Tsuchikage Inoki is older than him and is also a shrewd guy. After suffering such a big loss at the hands of Konoha this time, he will definitely not let it go. Sarutobi Hiruzen really had a headache for a while. After all, from the current point of view, it seems that Konoha has calculated the Land of Earth. Not only did they tie up the opponent's Four Tails Jinchuriki, but they also made the new generation of genin of the Land of Earth fail in the Chunin exam. If there is no reasonable explanation, Sarutobi Hiruzen is sure that the third Tsuchikage will start a war. Although Inoki is old, he still has the courage. Although Konoha is not afraid of war, they don't want to start a war without reason and let other countries take advantage. Moreover, he can think that once the war starts, the other three countries will definitely take action. In the Forest of Death, the killing has come to an end. Our Land of Earth will avenge us. At this moment, Xiao's face is numb. The wailing of his teammates and the fear of death make him completely lose the mind to fight against Chiga. He is the only one left among the rock ninjas present, and their 30 rock ninjas did not cause any harm to Chiga. I'm waiting for your people to die. Chiga responded coldly, and then stabbed Xiao's heart with a knife. With the death of Kari, none of the Iwagakure ninjas who participated in the Chunin exam survived. The commotion here had already attracted the attention of the examinees. The bold examinees even hid secretly on the periphery, and originally wanted to come here to pick up some leaks. But the next scene was beyond their expectations. One person actually killed 30 Iwagakure ninjas. The scene was too shocking, causing them to have no desire to take action. After seeing Chiga glance at them, they felt their hair stand on end, turned around and ran away, fearing that Chiga had not killed enough and would kill them as well. After seeing the group of onlookers leave, Chiga also breathed a sigh of relief. Although he still had the strength to fight again, he didn't want to kill for no reason. He came to the side of Might Day and Ebisu. "Uncle Might Day, how do you feel?" Chiga looked at Might Day's grinning face and asked with concern. I'm fine." With the support of Ebisu, Might Day stood up with all his strength and showed Chiga a very reluctant smile. Chiga was silent for a while, without saying much, but walked to the body of the rock ninja, found a human scroll, and put it in the ninja bag. Then he said to Might Guy and Ebisu, Let's go to the tower first." Might Guy asked puzzledly, "Tower? Don't we have another goal to solve? If we go to the tower now, the mission will fail." "Uncle Might Guy, don't hold on. If you don't get treatment, the injury on your arm will be irreversible. Chiga didn't dabble in medical ninjutsu, but he was able to check whether the injury was serious. Moreover, the 7th gate of the 8 gates of ninjutsu puts a lot of load on the body, and Might Guy also used to move like Day Tiger. The injury is even more serious. This is also a disadvantage of the 8 gates of ninjutsu. After all, the ultimate physical skills must be supported by a strong body. Compared with Might Guy's talent is indeed worse. Chiga also knew that this assassination mission could not be carried out. Although Might Guy can't die, the longer it is delayed, the greater the sequelae. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Epilogue. Yes, Uncle Might Day. Originally this mission was not a mission that had to be completed. Now that Chiga has said so, you should just follow Chiga's arrangements. After all, your health is the most important thing. Ebisu also persuaded. But, okay, don't say it. Just like before, I'm the captain, I have the final say, and the 3rd Hokage has also explained before that you should follow my arrangements. It's not that Chiga wants to be the one who has the final say, but the injury on Might Day's arm can't be delayed any longer, otherwise it will really leave sequelae. Seeing Chiga say so, Might Day can only follow the arrangement. After letting Ebisu carry Might Day on his back, Chiga took the lead and walked in front. Along the way, no team dared to stop Chiga and the other two. After all, Chiga was now covered in blood, and the amazing smell of blood. Even a fool would know that this person should not be provoked. In this way, the 3 of them quickly arrived at the tower. Arriving in the tower, Chiga took out the 3 scrolls of heaven, earth and man, and then opened them one by one. Bang! After a puff of smoke, Minato's figure appeared in front of the front and back. Minato senpai. Chiga saw this and called out, then said, just in time, Minato senpai, we have finished the 2nd exam. Please take Might Day out now and hand him over to the medical team. He is seriously injured. Don't worry, we have been watching your previous battles. After you decided to go to the tower to complete the exam, your teacher has already gone to ask Tsunade-sama. Minato comforted in a gentle tone. Okay, I now declare that Chiga's class has passed the 2nd exam. Minato first announced solemnly, and then took Chiga and the other 2 to the monitoring room of the examination room using the Flying Thunder God technique. At this time, Kushina had already arrived here with Tsunade. Before Chiga could see who was in the field, he saw a figure rushing towards him. Chiga, let the teacher take a good look at you to see if you are injured. Kushina looked at Chiga with great concern, and her hands were still wandering around Chiga's body, checking if Chiga was missing any arms or legs. Teacher Kushina, you all saw it on the surveillance, I'm not hurt. Chiga twisted her body to avoid Kushina's hand. Although she knew that this was a sign of Kushina's concern, she was too embarrassed. TSK, why are you shy? Teacher, I've seen everything. You have what you should have, Minato. Before Kushina finished her words, Minato covered her mouth. If he continued to talk about this topic, he would die in the village. Tsunade, who was dragged over by Kushina, did not dare to look at Chiga. After all, Chiga's body was covered with the blood of the Iwagakure. Tsunade came to Might Day and stretched out her hand to check his injuries. After a while, she was surprised and said, my goodness, what did you do? You have multiple muscle tears and bone fractures all over your body. The most serious one is the right arm, where all the muscles are torn and the bones are broken. Fortunately, he came out in time. Otherwise, even if his right arm was cured, he would not be able to lift heavy objects, and it would be a problem whether he can be a ninja again. Chiga heard this and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, his decision was correct. Otherwise Might Day would retire early because of a small goal. He would also feel uncomfortable. Compared to Chiga, who was worried about him, Might Day, the person involved, looked indifferent. He grinned, raised his thumb and shouted, it's just a minor injury. Even if I lose an arm, King-chan will not allow me to retire early. King, you big head ghost, if you mess with me again, I will beat you up. Tsunade is not a good-tempered person. She was a little dissatisfied because she was pulled out of the casino by Kushina. Seeing that the wounded man was not cooperating, he immediately punched Mighty on the head. Then, Tsunade seemed to remember something, narrowed her eyes, and said, "Oh, I remember now. You are the green-skinned bastard who walks by my door every morning standing upside down, and likes to shout about the immortality of youth. Tsunade-sama, you won't not save me for this, will you? Oh, how could that be? I'm a medical ninja, and saving the dying, and healing the wounded is what I should do. Okay, lie down obediently, I'll take a closer look. The bones in your arm are dislocated. You have to reset them before you can treat them. Just bear with it, it will be quick." Snap. Mighty felt that it would be better to die like this. "Why are you shouting?" "Because your shouting caused me to fail to reset them successfully, and I have to start over again." Snap. As for the grudge between the two, Chiga and others rationally did not get involved. Anyway, Tsunade knew her limits, and would not really be cruel to Mighty. Chiga came to Sarutobi Hiruzen's side. He glanced at Hatake Tsukumo who had been standing behind Sarutobi Hiruzen without saying anything, and then said, "I'm sorry Third Hokage, the mission failed, and there is still a target that has not been solved." In response, Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand, not caring at all, and smiled. "It's not your fault. It's just that the situation suddenly happened, and you can consider the safety of your companions at the first time. I can only feel relieved. There are still means of compensation for mission failure, but if something happens to people, it can't be saved." He said this to remind Hatake Tsukumo behind him. He supported his approach, but because the loss to the Land of Fire was too serious, he had to remain silent. After hearing this, Hatake Tsukumo behind him moved slightly and soon regained his calm. "Go down with your teacher first. There will be a third exam in a month. Although it is not important, you can't be careless. The battle intelligence between ninjas is still very important. You have exposed many of your methods, and your opponent will also be prepared." Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile. This was just a casual remark. With Chiga's current performance, as long as there is no problem with the brain, if you meet Chiga, you will definitely give up. "Let's go, teacher, I have something to tell you." Kushina pulled Chiga out of the examination room. On the way, Kushina also repeated what she had said to Sarutobi Hiruzen before. Chiga asked, "So, I can't leave the village during this period?" "Yeah." Chiga scratched his head. Originally, he was thinking that he would go to the Land of Grass to bring back Uzumaki Misa after the Chunin exam was over. Unexpectedly, he went too far and made himself unable to leave for a while. "Why, you are not happy to accompany your teacher to make trouble in the village?" Seeing Chiga's unhappy face, Kushina looked at Chiga with dangerous eyes. Chai immediately shook his head and said seriously, "I'm so happy to be able to work with teacher Kushina." "That's good." Kushina nodded with satisfaction. Chapter 110, 1.5 years. A month later, the third round of the Chunin exam was held as scheduled. The third Tsuchikage and the third Kazekage also arrived in Konoha as scheduled. However, in such a grand exam, the candidate's performance was not satisfactory. As mentioned before, every candidate who met Chiga or Might chose to give up the competition. This made the exam a bit anticlimactic. In this Chunin exam, the country of Wind made the biggest profit. Their people perfectly avoided Chiga and Might Day and performed well in the third exam. Their daimyo saw that there were so many talents in their country and restored some confidence in the Sand Village. After returning, he invested a large sum of money in the Sand Village. The competition between the Wind Country and Konoha for the commission of the River Country eased a lot. During this period, Chiga also met the third Kazekage and the third Tsuchikage. There is nothing much to say about the third Kazekage. This guy's head has been reserved by the Red Sand Scorpion. Chiga is not interested in paying too much attention to the dying man. The third generation Tsuchikage, with white beard and white eyebrows, a big forehead with a rosacea, a face full of wrinkles, and a very short stature, looks just like an old birthday star in Chinese mythology. Unfortunately, this little birthday star was not kind when he saw Kyan, and his gloomy eyes were full of murderous intent. It was also in Konoha, otherwise the third generation Tsuchikage would have to ignore his identity and attack Kyan on the spot. After all, the 30 genin who can participate in the Chunin exam are also a group of living forces, and they all died in Konoha. Even the land of the earth with the largest number of ninjas will feel heartbroken. Kyan didn't care about this. After talking with Kushina that day, Kyan knew that he would not leave the village in a short time. So facing the look of the third generation Tsuchikage Inoki that wanted to eat him, Kyan just pouted and even made a face. This made the third generation Tsuchikage very angry, and the emotional value received by Kyan rose sharply. Seeing this, Chiga was in a good mood. The only pity was that the reward she got from the third Tsuchikage for the first time was not very good. It was only 6,000 Earth style experience points, and she didn't get the dust style. Because the third Tsuchikage still needed to discuss the Four Tails Jinchuriki with Konoha, he stayed in Konoha village for another 3 days. During these 3 days, even though he was far away in the Uchiha clan, Chiga could feel the chakra fluctuations that erupted from time to time in the Hokage building. There were chakra fluctuations from the Rock Ninja, Konoha, and even the shadows of both sides. It's just that they didn't fight. The final result was that Sarutobi Hiruzen sent away the dark-faced third Tsuchikage with a satisfied smile. After the third Tsuchikage left, Chiga's name appeared in the underground bounty office, and the bounty was 20 million ryo. This was ridiculously high for a Chunin. Such a high bounty, plus the target was just a 7-year-old boy. Even if you know that this boy is a genius, his strength cannot be calculated according to common sense. But what the ninja world lacks the most is genius. Money can move people's hearts. Many greedy ninjas have lurked in Konoha to assassinate Kyan. Unfortunately, these people are not very strong. They were discovered by the Anbu before they found Kyan in Konoha, and they ruined their lives. After many times, the people who accepted the task from the underground bounty also knew that this task was not so easy to complete, and the assassination operation gradually subsided. Because Kyan would not leave the village in a short time, Minato and Kakashi became a 2-person team again. In the absence of Kyan, the duo did not have any accidents. They were able to complete the task smoothly and return to the village safely every time. This made the two feel that it was Kyan's responsibility that they could have accidents during the mission, and that he was a crow's mouth, saying what he said. In this regard, Kyan certainly refused to admit it, but the facts were in front of him, and he really couldn't refute it for a while. Keeping this in mind, Kyan will wait until he can leave the village and then form a team with the two to prove that it was not his fault. After that, he and Kushina were involved in low-level tasks in the village, and they also started to do whatever they wanted in the village. For a time, the entire Konoha was turned upside down by the two of them, and there were complaints everywhere. The complaints against the two of them almost filled up Sarutobi Hiruzen's desk. Sarutobi Hiruzen probably didn't expect that leaving Chiga in the village would have such a result. Originally, he wanted Chiga to be a stabilizer for Kushina's nuclear warhead, but he didn't expect it to be an accelerant. The power rose sharply, and the two of them didn't harm ordinary ninjas, but only picked those who were famous and prestigious in Konoha, such as Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Danzō. Except for Jiraiya, the other two of these three were not so easy to get rid of. If it weren't for Sarutobi Hiruzen's forced suppression, they would have come to settle accounts with Chiga and Kushina. Unable to bear it any longer, Sarutobi Hiruzen gave the two a 6-month confinement, which made the two of them quiet down a lot. A year and a half later, Konoha 46 years. Teacher Kushina, why did you get up so early today? Looking at Kushina, who was already making breakfast at his home, Kyan rubbed his eyes and asked. The blood red pepper in the eyes of outsiders actually has such a gentle and virtuous side. When they saw this scene, their eyes might pop out. Even their own sons don't get this treatment. Guess. Kushina hummed a song and fiddled in the pot with a spatula. Seeing Kushina's amorous look, Kyan smiled and said, "Is Minato Senior coming back?" Kushina nodded and smiled. Jiraiya found me last night and said that Minato sent him a message that they will rush to the village this morning, so I'm going to greet them. You and I will go together. You haven't seen Kakashi for a long time, right? Speaking of which, I haven't seen Minato Senior and Kakashi for 3 months. Aren't they stationed at the border of the Land of Lightning? Can they come back now? Kyan asked. I heard that, because the Iwagakure ninja sent most of their ninjas to the border of the Land of Lightning, the pressure on our front line was greatly reduced, so Minato applied to come back to rest. Okay, then let's go meet Kakashi and bully him a little. The two of us have been caught by Uncle Tsukumo countless times. Chiga said. It's true that he hasn't seen Kakashi for a long time, but he and Kakashi's father, Hatake Tsukumo, do see each other often. After all, he and Kushina got into trouble, and it was always Hatake Tsukumo who came to arrest them. In the Anbu, only Hatake Tsukumo has the ability to make Chiga and Kushina suffer. I can't deal with Hatake Tsukumo, can't I deal with your son? Why does this idea feel so familiar? Chapter 111 Clan Meeting. Kushina also had a face full of sympathy and said, well, I really have to vent my anger on Kakashi. Brother Tsukumo is really something. He clearly knew that his son had a good relationship with us, but he didn't let us off when he arrested us. Considering that Chiga had always called Hatake Tsukumo Uncle Tsukumo, Kushina forced Hatake Tsukumo to call him Brother Tsukumo in order to avoid losing her seniority. As for whether Hatake Tsukumo recognized her as his sister, that was not the point. Originally, Kushina also wanted to call Hatake Tsukumo in a friendly way, so that Hatake Tsukumo would let him off. But unfortunately, Hatake Tsukumo was not someone that could be bribed so easily. He gladly accepted Kushina's sweet talk, and every time he heard Kushina call him Brother Tsukumo, he looked intoxicated and enjoyed it. After all, in Konoha village, only Tsunade had this kind of treatment. The other three Hokages were old men. Jiraiya was a white-haired pervert, and Danzō was a one-eyed dragon. TSK. How could he not be happy to hear such a messy name from Kushina's mouth? Brother Tsukumo. But after enjoying it, it's time to catch. This made Kushina very angry, but she really couldn't do anything to Hatake Tsukumo. She couldn't beat him, and she didn't have any handle. Okay, eat quickly, and we'll go to the gate of Konoha after eating. Kushina handed Chiga a plate of breakfast, and then began to dress herself up. Women dress up to please themselves, and even Kushina is no exception. After Chiga finished eating, she and Kushina came to the gate of Konoha. After a while, two figures, one big and one small, appeared in front of them. Minato Kushina waved excitedly. Seeing this, Minato in the distance probably missed Kushina too much, and directly used the Flying Thunder God technique to come behind Kushina. Chiga was also shocked when he saw this. Senior Minato's Flying Thunder God technique had become much more proficient. After thinking for a while, Chiga said in a deep voice, "It's in the buttocks." Minato's face froze when he heard this. Negative emotions from Minato Namikaze. Emotion value plus 80. Minato. You actually told this matter to others. And you told it to my disciple. Kushina exploded, holding Minato's neck with both hands and shaking him back and forth. Kushina, listen to my explanation. Chiga tricked me into saying it. I don't want to listen. It's your fault. Seeing the two of them lingering, Chiga, who had tricked Minato, didn't want to eat this dog food and walked towards Kakashi. Chiga hugged the reluctant Kakashi and smiled. Hey, Kakashi, without me, are you having a hard time? No, I eat well and sleep well, and most importantly, there have been no accidents. My father doesn't have to worry about my safety anymore. Kakashi replied seriously. You caused the accident last time. Chiga corrected. After hanging out with Chiga for a long time, Kakashi's face became thicker and he said, it was indeed my mistake, but if you hadn't been nosy, would I have made that mistake? Crow's mouth. Chiga's face darkened. Want to fight? You're impatient. Wow, I haven't seen you for a few months, and your venomous tongue has improved. I learned it from you, idol. I think you deserve a beating. Chiga and Kakashi played around for a while, and only stopped after Kakashi surrendered. Chiga asked, by the way, how many days are you going to stay this time? To be honest, Chiga has been in the village for more than a year, and he is a little bored. He wants to go out to the wild. Minato and Kakashi are his old teammates, and they are very familiar with each other. And he can change the inherent impression of the two, and get rid of his title of Crow's Mouth. It will take half a month. Kakashi thought for a while and replied. Chiga was stunned and asked in surprise, so long? Is there anything else to do in the village? Without waiting for Kakashi to reply, Minato, who escaped from Kushina, came over and said with a smile, "It's like this. This time when the ninja school graduates, the third Hokage asked me to take 2 more students." At this point, Minato asked Kushina, "Kushina, aren't you going to find 2 more students?" "No, Chiga is enough." Kushina shook her head. She was not very enthusiastic about taking new people, and she couldn't leave the village because of her status as the Ninetales Jinchuriki. Even if she was given someone, she couldn't take them out on a mission. Minato nodded and said no more. Kushina and Minato were left alone. Kakashi also wanted to go back to see his father because he hadn't been home for a long time. Not to mention, because Hatake Tsukumo didn't die, Kakashi was taught by Hatake Tsukumo and Minato. His strength was much stronger than the original Kakashi, and because his style was very similar to Hatake Tsukumo, he was also known as Little White Fang in the ninja world. After bidding farewell to Kakashi, Chiga returned to the Uchiha clan. The monthly clan meeting was about to begin, and Chiga was already qualified to participate. Seeing Chiga come in, "Uncle." After a uniform shout, the Uchiha clan laughed loudly, making Chiga roll his eyes helplessly. These Uchiha clan members are addicted to it. They have to tease him at every clan meeting. It has become the opening line. "What kind of thing is this? Sit in your seat," and the clan meeting begins. The leader is Uchiha Fugaku. At the beginning, he reminisced about the past and felt the strength of the Uchiha clan in the past, and then began to get to the point. They talked about this year's graduating genin. Uchiha Fugaku sat at the front, thought for a moment, and asked, "Speaking of which, this year, we Uchiha also have a graduate. Is his name Uchiha Obito?" "Yes, this little guy is still a little strong, but his personality is a bit strange." The Uchiha 8th generation next to him was hard to describe, and he didn't know how to describe it for a while. As a person who often guides the younger generation in the family, he knows the younger generation in the family best. As for Uchiha Obito, Uchiha 8th generation feels that Uchiha Fugaku didn't ask much, but turned his head to look at Chiga again and asked, "Is Minato back to the village today?" "Minato is back. I have to treat him to a meal. If it weren't for his help last time, I would have been killed by the Cloud Ninja of the Land of Lightning. He saved me last time too. That flying thunder god technique instantly killed more than a dozen ninjas on the other side. It's amazing." With the Uchiha clan's intention to get closer, Minato and the Uchiha clan are indeed much closer. "Yeah." Chiga nodded and said, "What does he think of this year's newcomers?" Chiga understood Uchiha Fugaku's thoughts and said with a smile, "Senior Minato is also planning to bring 2 more newcomers this time to form a complete team." "Oh. Then." Uchiha Fugaku had some ideas. "Fugaku, do you think too highly of Minato?" Before Chiga could reply, a gloomy voice spoke. Chapter 112 Sage Mode Improvement. Chiga looked in the direction of the voice and found that it was Uchiha Setsuna, the second elder of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Setsuna's nephew, probably influenced by Uchiha Setsuna, is a real hawkish figure and is currently the leader of the hawkish faction. Uchiha Fugaku frowned and asked, "Elder Setsuna, do you have anything to say? Isn't the investment in Minato already a direction we have discussed long ago? I don't object to winning over Minato, but since we already have Chiga, there is no need to send another clan member to him." Uchiha Setsuna shook his head and said, "Yes, clan leader Fugaku, we haven't had any new members join the guard team for a long time. Indeed, there are quite a few troublemakers in the village recently, and we are a bit short of manpower." Several Uchiha clan members who are also hawkish echoed. Without waiting for Uchiha Fugaku to speak, Uchiha Shashi continued, "Also, our clan is the largest clan in Konoha after all. If we always let outsiders teach our clan's geniuses, other clans will think that our clan has declined and has no resources to cultivate new generation talents. Don't you think so, Chief Fugaku?" Kaya now understood that the elder Shashi's purpose was not Uchiha Obito at all. In fact, he didn't care whether Uchiha Obito would become Minato's disciple. His real purpose was not to let Uchiha Shizu be handed over to outsiders. Both the Hawks and Doves valued Shizu very much. Now that he has become a bridge between Konoha and the Uchiha clan, there is no need for such an arrangement for another genius, and he should even become a ninja who is completely devoted to his own clan. Kyan also understands this idea. If a man does not work for himself, he will be punished by heaven and earth. However, Kai dare not guarantee whether Shizu will do as Shashi wishes. I understand. I will not make the same arrangement as Chiga for Shizu. Uchiha Fugaku also understood Uchiha Shashi's thoughts and said. After getting a satisfactory answer, Uchiha Shashi said no more. At this moment, the Uchiha clan is still dominated by doves. The members of the Hawk faction did not dare to be too pushy and strong. Not long after the clan meeting started, everyone talked about family matters. Chiga was no longer interested in listening. After quietly slipping out of the back door, he came to the grove outside the Uchiha clan. At this moment, the small forest is full of crows, which can be said to be a disaster. If they hadn't known that they were raised by their own clansmen, the Uchiha clan would have prepared to clean them up. As for Chiga, the genius of the clan, the Uchiha clan also tacitly agreed to make this grove a habitat for crows. It can be said that this grove is already Chiga's private territory. No one can enter the depths of this grove without disturbing the crows. Seeing Kai coming, the crows all chirped, and then crow feather flew out from the center of the forest. It landed on Kai's shoulder and touched Kai's cheek affectionately with its head. Kai smiled and patted Crow Feather's wings, then glanced at the big tree in front of him. There were more than a dozen crows on each tree. In the past year and a half, the crows have multiplied to more than 5,000. Alas, Kai sighed and said, it seems that finding a spiritual world for you should be put on the agenda. The crow population will continue to expand, and this small forest is definitely not enough, so it is necessary to find a spiritual world for the crows to live in. But a spiritual world without spiritual beasts is not so easy to find. Moreover, reverse spiritualism is very risky, and no one knows what kind of world they will be teleported to. Kai did not dare to try rashly. Putting this idea aside for a moment, Kai said to Yeu, go and gather volunteers. Upon hearing this, Yeu was silent for a while, and a trace of reluctance flashed in his spiritual eyes. Under Kai's careful breeding, Yeu not only increased in strength, but also grew in intelligence. It knew that the volunteers Kai mentioned would basically never come back, but this experiment was also an opportunity for their crow tribe. So it still cooperated with Kai and chirped. Then the whole forest was silent for a moment, and then 4 or 5 crows flew out in front of Kai. Letting these crows follow behind him, Kai slowly walked into the depths of the forest. He came to a big tree, touched it gently, and unsealed it, opening a long corridor leading to the underground. There was a small room below, and even Kushina didn't know that Kai had such a small space. Lighting up the torches around, some stone statues came into view. Some of these stone statues were completely transformed into frogs, and some had crow bodies and frog heads in strange shapes. There were hundreds of them. Looking at these stone statues, Chiga also sighed. His sage mode was taken from Jiraiya, and it can be regarded as the authentic Myaboki mountain sage mode. Unfortunately, Chiga did not have the same eyeshadow as Naruto. His mutation was a little more serious than Jiraiya. Not only did his eyes become frog eyes, his nose was full of pimples, and even his tongue became a frog tongue. Although Chiga felt that this tongue would be very useful after getting married in the future, it would be difficult for him to find a girlfriend with his appearance in sage mode. In short, ugly. The sage mode of Myaboki Mountain was improved based on adapting to the body of a frog, while the one of Raichi Cave was a snake. Chiga felt that, since frogs and snakes could enter sage mode, why couldn't crows? Are there any kings, princes, generals, or ministers? With this idea, Chiga began to think about improving the sage mode. All these stone statues were failures, which means that Chiga has lost hundreds of crows with chakra. Kai stood there, absorbed the natural energy for a few minutes, and suddenly opened his eyes. In an instant, his pupils turned into a horizontal bar, and a facial mask appeared around his eye sockets. Sage mode. Let's start. Kai commanded a crow to come in front of him, and then touched the crow's body with both hands. Using his own body as a medium, he input the natural energy into the crow's body. This is the first step. He does not need the crow to enter the sage mode. As long as the crow does not undergo physical changes after absorbing the natural energy, it will be considered a success. This is also the most difficult point. So far, Kai has sacrificed hundreds of crows and has not found a suitable path. If he had not developed feelings with Crow Feather, Kai really wanted to let Crow Feather try. After a moment, the crow trembled slightly, and then its body began to swell, and soon it turned into a stone statue. Experimental subject number 114, failed. Next. Experimental subject number 115, failed. Next. Experimental subject number 116, no obvious changes in the body. Success. Chapter 113, Rebellious Ninja Obito. 3 days later, the graduation exam of the ninja school was over. Uchiha Obito, Nohara Rin, Sarutobi Asuma, Yuhi Kurenai and others passed the exam and officially became a genin. Uchiha Obito became Minato's disciple without anyone interfering. I don't know what Minato likes about Uchiha Obito. Is it that the incomparable second year atmosphere is very suitable for Minato? Kyan didn't think much about it. Maybe this is a bad fate. Teacher Kushina, I'm really busy these days. Don't look for fun anymore. Since the initial improvement of the Sage mode that day, Kyan's subsequent results have improved rapidly. Originally, Kyan wanted to continue to follow up and strive to perfect the Sage mode of Crow as soon as possible. But I didn't expect that he was caught by the bored Kushina before he went out today. He said that the two had not brought happiness to Konoha for a long time, and he had to drag him to find some fun. Following behind Kushina, Kyan suggested, Teacher Kushina, how about you go shopping with Sister Makoto? You two sisters haven't played together for a long time. Don't mention it, I've already gone to find her. Your sister Makoto is pregnant and needs to take care of the fetus. Kushina said helplessly. Also, since I became your teacher, I'm one generation higher than Makoto, but we are not sisters. What? The filial son is coming? Kyan was shocked when he heard it, and then laughed dumbly. It was really too deeply influenced by the previous life that there was a trace of fear in his heart. This world has changed because of his arrival. Not to mention the extermination of the clan. Minato and Kushina can't even think about dying. But then again, can you pretend to be a half-immortal for fun? Pointing at Uchiha Makoto's big belly, he said, my uncle, I counted with my fingers, and this child will definitely bring destruction to my clan, and he must not be left alive. Kyan felt that the scene would definitely receive a lot of emotional points, but he estimated that he would be beaten to death by Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Makoto. What are you talking about, filial son? Why don't I understand? Kushina looked at Chiga in confusion. However, before Chiga could reply, Chiga suddenly looked up at the sky and heard a few crows cawing in his ears. Caw. Looking at the crows flying around in the sky, Chiga frowned. His crows never had the habit of flying around, and as long as no one approached his secret base, they would not rush to find him. Kushina also looked up, and then suddenly said excitedly, good guy, someone dares to mess with my apprentice's crows. Isn't this giving Kushina face? Let's go, let's see who is so brave. After that, Kushina strode towards the small forest. Chiga, it's really hard for you to have fun. Chiga sighed helplessly, and then followed behind Kushina. When they arrived in the small forest, they found that it was Minato and the others. Ah, why is it you, Minato? Seeing that it was her boyfriend, Kushina was deflated, and her fun was gone. Chiga asked in confusion, Minato-senpai, why did you come here? It's quite peaceful here, and there are water and trees. It's quite suitable for newcomers to practice. Besides, when you were in my team, we all gathered here. Minato explained with a smile. After staying with Chiga for a long time, he gradually regarded this place as a place for practice. Chiga nodded upon hearing this, and looked at the three people, Minato, Kakashi, and Nohara Rin, and then said, so, was it that little bastard Obito who provoked my crow? Minato's mouth twitched, and he complained. To be precise, it was your crow that provoked Obito. It stole Obito's Konoha forehead protector. Oh. Chiga shrugged, and knew which crow it was. Crow Feather did have this little problem, and liked to steal the forehead protectors of Konoha village ninjas. Many ninjas had talked to Chiga about this, and Chiga received a lot of emotional points, so he never corrected it. Considering that he still had his own little secret in the forest, Chiga blew a whistle to summon Crow Feather back. After a little movement, Crow Feather flew to Chiga's shoulder, and under his claws was the Konoha forehead protector. After a while, Obito also ran out of the forest. When he saw the Crow Feather on Kyan's shoulder, he angrily said to Kyan, Kyan, take care of your crow. This stinky crow actually scratched a line on my Konoha forehead protector. Is it trying to say that I'm a traitor of Konoha? Damn it, I'm going to be a Hokage. How can I have such a stain? After hearing this, Kyan picked up the forehead protector under the crow feather and took a look. It was indeed as Obito said, there was a horizontal scratch on the Konoha mark on the forehead protector. TSK, has my crow become a spirit? I was just thinking about how to become a half immortal, and the crow feather actually started to practice. Kyan threw the forehead protector to Obito, and in Obito's distressed expression, he laughed and said, "Oh, my little nephew finally graduated. Huh, don't talk to me, I'm angry when I see you, and your crow now." Obito wiped his Konoha forehead protector distressedly, and found that the scratch on it was very deep, so he had to replace it with a new one. He said to Chiga unhappily, "Chiga, I tell you, this Konoha forehead protector is useless. You have to compensate me." Okay, as you say." Chiga smiled kindly, just like when he first traveled through time and met Obito. Obito. Negative emotions from Uchiha Obito. Emotion value plus 60. Hey, isn't this kid the same one as before? Kushina looked at Obito and felt that he looked familiar. Then she thought of when she had seen him before, and her face suddenly turned cold. Obito was much more profound. When he saw Kushina recognized him, he immediately hid behind Minato. Obito felt his scalp numb when he remembered the beating he received from Kushina. But when he thought that he had graduated from the ninja school and had a mentor, and this mentor was also very powerful, he immediately felt confident. "It's her, that's her. Minato teacher, I was beaten up by her when I was still in the ninja school. As my teacher, you must avenge me. Hahaha, that Nishi Uzumaki Kushina, right? You're done. My teacher is a famous Jonin in Konoha, a powerful ninja who has completed many S-level missions. You will definitely be beaten badly today." Obito's words silenced Chiga and Kakashi, and even Crow Feather looked at Obito with pity. In its little head, it knew that among the people present, Kushina was the boss. Kushina didn't say anything, but just looked at Minato expressionlessly. Chapter 114, Deep Love Between Master and Disciple. Minato, she is my girlfriend. He originally wanted to urge his teacher to take action and teach her a lesson, but he didn't expect that they were actually a family. Obito was stunned. Is it too late for me to change teams now? Minato didn't understand what grudges Kushina and Obito had, and after signaling Chiga with his eyes, "Minato-senpai, this is what happened." Chiga explained what happened when Kushina met Obito. After listening, Minato looked at Obito. Minato knew how much Kushina hated the name of Tomato. In his opinion, Obito's beating was relatively light. But after all, she was his new disciple, and Kushina also took action on the spot, so Minato still said a few words for Obito. "Kushina, you also vented your anger at that time. I will let Obito apologize to you, and let's just forget about this matter." "Okay." Kushina was silent for a while, but still nodded in agreement. She was not such a person who did not know her limits. She still gave Minato enough face in front of outsiders, otherwise Obito would not be able to solve the problem with just an apology. With Minato's mediation, Obito was relieved. Now that he saw Kushina agreed, he immediately bowed to Kushina and apologized. "I'm sorry, Kushina-senpai, I was ignorant at the beginning, and shouldn't have called you such an annoying name." "Okay, it's all over. Remember not to call me like that in the future." Kushina heard this and nodded reluctantly, which was considered the end of the matter. Of course. Obito breathed a sigh of relief and promised quickly. "Kushina, Obito already knows her. There is another one, Nohara-rin, who plans to become a medical ninja." Minato introduced Nohara-rin. "Kushina-senpai, hello, I'm Nohara-rin. Also, Chiga, long time no see." Nohara-rin walked forward generously, first introduced herself to Kushina, and then playfully winked at Chiga. "Well, long time no see." Chiga also smiled and said hello. Kushina also liked this kind of sunny girl, and said with a smile, "Do a good job. If you have talent in this area, I will let Sister Tsunade teach you a few tricks." "Thank you very much, Senior Kushina." Nohara-rin was excited to hear that she could ask the legendary three ninjas and her idol Tsunade. After getting to know each other, Kushina asked Minato again, Minato, did you just introduce yourselves? Minato replied, yes, just after the introduction, Crow Feather snatched Obito's forehead protector. So, the strength test hasn't started yet? Kushina narrowed her eyes and asked. Yes, I plan to let Kakashi come to test their strength, so that they can get to know each other. Kushina tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and said casually, why don't we let Chiga come? He has been in the village for so long, and hasn't taken action for a long time. Let him warm up. Let Chiga take action? Is that a good idea? Will it put too much pressure on me? Minato hesitated. Minato sensei, let Chiga test my strength. I have wanted to fight Chiga for a long time. Obito shouted immediately after hearing such an arrangement. I lost faith with Kushina senpai, can't I get it back with Chiga? As for whether Obito can beat Chiga, come on, in the eyes of a middle school student, no one can be his opponent. Compared to Obito who was eager to try, Chiga was not very motivated. He pulled the corner of Kushina's clothes and asked in a low voice, Teacher Kushina, what do you want to do? You have followed me for so long, why haven't you caught up with my thinking? Kushina said to Chiga with contempt, and then said, of course it's time to test the friendship between us as master and disciple. Chiga understood and said in surprise, didn't you say it's in the past? I have passed it, but as my disciple, after seeing your teacher being bullied, didn't you express your opinion? That's true, but why don't you let Kakashi go up? He probably won't show mercy. Chiga really has no interest in teaching Uchiha Obito a lesson. No, how can I let others do it for me? Chiga really had no interest in fighting with Obito, so she persuaded him, forget it, you took revenge right there and then. If I remember correctly, that beating made Obito unable to get out of bed for 3 days. But when I heard that nickname about your teacher, I lost my appetite and didn't sleep for 3 days. Kushina's acting skills were online. She squeezed out a tear from the corner of her eyes and looked at Chiga with pleading eyes. Alright, I know. What do you want me to do? Chiga rolled his eyes at Kushina. He knew that if he didn't teach Obito a lesson today and satisfy Kushina, he probably wouldn't have a good time in the next few days. Kushina smiled slyly and then said, there is no need to beat him too badly, just make him look bad. Hiss, are you going to kill him? Nonsense, I'm doing this for his own good. Even a fool can see that the little girl's mind is all on Kakashi. Wouldn't it be better to let him give up the idea as soon as possible? Yes, whatever you say is right. At this moment, Obito had already walked onto the field. Looking at Chiga and Kushina whispering about something, he asked puzzledly, hey, Chiga, Kushina senpai, what are you two talking about? After hearing what Obito said, Kushina turned around, her heart calm and her face not blushing, and she replied seriously, Chiga, and I think that you must be quite capable, since you can graduate from the ninja school. Chiga can't guarantee that you will be your opponent. So, as Chiga's teacher, I always have the obligation to formulate some tactics for Chiga, right? Obito nodded as a matter of course. Oh, Senior Kushina, you are so smart. Why didn't I join your team in the first place? I wonder if I can change the team leader in the future. You better give up on this idea. Upon hearing this, Kushina felt a chill and couldn't believe what it would feel like to team up with Obito. Minato knew Kushina's character very well. That expression was definitely a cruel blow to Obito. He looked at Obito with some concern and advised, Obito, why don't you change to Kakashi? Minato, don't say anything more, it's Chiga. Kushina gave Minato a clear warning, which instantly shut him up, and then gave Obito a thumbs up and said, come on, I'm rooting for you. TSK. Chiga, look, even your teacher has given up on treating you. What can you use to fight me? Chiga glanced at Obito with pity and didn't want to say a word. Chapter 115. Have you been in trouble recently? Minato didn't dare to say too much to Obito because of Kushina's warning. He just used his eyes to signal him to be careful and then said, then let's start. Chiga and Obito didn't move after hearing that. Chiga was waiting for Obito to attack and then beat him up hard to vent Kushina's anger and to give Obito face. At least Obito had made a move during the fight. Can we start fighting? He couldn't help but said when he saw that Obito hadn't made a move yet. But Obito didn't move at all and said to Chiga with confidence, Chiga, I have seen through all your tricks. Chiga, I know your intelligence very well. The Flying Thunder God technique is indeed elusive, but if you want to teleport, you must have the mark of the Flying Thunder God technique. And your Flying Thunder God mark is engraved on those annoying crows of yours. There is something new, a guy who graduated early must not know. That is the battle between ninjas, and intelligence is the key. Obito shook his head and sighed to himself, as if the outcome of this battle had been decided. He suddenly had a kunai in his hand and shouted, I know, you have let the crows come behind me. After that, he turned around abruptly, holding the kunai and slashed down. What? Where are the crows? Chiga, I really overestimated him. Your disciple really opened my eyes. Minato, Kushina on the side, was already laughing from ear to ear. She had never seen such a stupid person in her life. Minato's mouth was twitching, and he really didn't know how to refute. And Chiga had already appeared behind Obito in the field, with his eyes closed, and his hands forming a tiger seal. No, Obito, be careful. Even Minato was surprised to see this mark, and the special kunai was already in his hand, ready to throw it out, to save Obito at any time. Massacre. Impossible. How could Chiga know this move? And Kakashi saw this familiar move, with a look of disbelief on his face. Sorry, Obito. Chiga suddenly opened his eyes, a gleam of light flashed in his eyes, and his whole body was full of momentum, and he poked his hands upwards with force. The secret of Konoha Taijutsu, 1000 years of death. Puff. Hit the bullseye. The entire training ground was instantly quiet, and even Kushina looked at the situation in front of her with a look of astonishment. The next second, Obito screamed and flew high into the sky, covering his indescribable body parts with both hands. We are done. Chiga stood there quietly, looking at Obito who was gasping for breath on the ground, looking like a master. Obito covered his anus with one hand and pointed at Chiga with the other hand, saying resolutely, Chiga, you have such a vicious heart. Breakdown from Uchiha Obito, emotion value plus 100. This 1000 years of killing almost destroyed the friendship between him and Chiga as classmates, the same clan, and uncle and nephew. Arsehole. Kushina walked up to Chiga quickly, punched Chiga on the head, and said with a red face, don't use the word Konoha in this shameful move. Where can we Konoha ninjas put our faces? In Chiga's puzzled eyes, Kushina secretly gave him a thumbs up and whispered, well done. Chiga rolled his eyes in annoyance. He saw what Kushina was thinking. She disliked this move as too shameful. She used it in front of Minato, and thought she taught it. Chiga, how do you know this move? Did you learn it secretly with the Sharingan? Kakashi walked up to Chiga and asked in confusion. This move is the unique skill of their Hatake clan, and Chiga actually learned it secretly. It's about the same. During these days in the village, your father has been chasing us two around. It's not too much to learn some unique skills secretly, right? Chiga felt unhappy when he thought about it. Obviously, he was the benefactor of Hatake's Akumo. It would be fine if he didn't let him win, but he actually wanted to use this move against him. Fortunately, he knew the Flying Thunder God technique, otherwise it would be much more serious than Obito. How is it? Do you think I have learned the essence of this move? Chiga asked Kakashi. Kakashi looked at Chiga expressionlessly and corrected him. Don't insult this move, okay? My father would use a knife to appear behind the enemy, to find the fatal part, and then Chiga picked his nose and interrupted. Just tell me if that part is the fatal part. Yes, that's enough. Impossible. How could my family's unique skills be so vulgar? That shows that you don't know your father yet. Right. Kushina also agreed. Kakashi, let me tell you, your father seems calm, but in fact. However, before Kushina could finish, a calm voice said, you too, please observe your surroundings. When you misinterpret my family's unique skills and say bad things about me. Who? Chiga and Kushina were startled and looked up guiltily and found that Hatake's Akumo, dressed in Anbu, was already standing on the branch. Haha, it's brother Sakumo, what are you doing here? Kushina asked guiltily. The third Hokage has ordered Kushina Uzumaki and Chiga Uchiha to go to the Hokage's office. Hatake Sakumo looked at Chiga and Kushina and said in a deep voice. Chiga and Kushina looked at each other when they heard this, and then Kushina asked Chiga with a serious face, have we offended anyone recently? No, it seems that we stole the experimental materials of Orochimaru recently to study the contact self-destructing sealing technique. Chiga recalled carefully and shook her head. Kushina was surprised and said, didn't you leave a note to put the blame on someone else? Yes, and the signature I left was Jiraiya's. I practiced for a whole night to imitate Jiraiya's handwriting. How could Orochimaru find out and report it to the old man? Kushina asked puzzledly. Or is it another matter? Chiga thought for a while and said meaningfully, are you talking about the time we practiced water jutsu at the root base? That shouldn't be the case. Chiga said confidently, we are doing this for the good of Lord Danzō. He himself said that the roots are to provide nutrients to Konoha, so how can the nutrients be provided if we don't water them to absorb moisture? Kushina also nodded in agreement. That's true. Then what else is there? Beat up the peeping Jiraiya? No, the old man is so happy about this. After all, the old man doesn't want to see that pervert Jiraiya every time he peeks. That's all. Chiga replied. The two of them had been quiet in Konoha village for a long time, and they had only done 3 or 2 things like this recently. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116. I'm old enough to eat cabbage. You too. Stop exposing the stupid things you did. After hearing this conversation, not to mention Hatake's Akumo, Minato's mouth was almost twitching. He had always heard about Kushina's antics, but he was not sure what she did specifically. But now after hearing what Kushina and Chiga did, he suddenly felt that it was not easy for Kushina to live and grow up in Konoha. It seems that I still have a lot to talk to you two about. Although Hatake's Akumo's face could not be seen because of the mask, it didn't look good. He felt that he still didn't do his job well. The third Hokage clearly asked him to keep an eye on Chiga and Kushina and not let them do anything nonsense, but there were so many things he didn't know. It's true that the devil is always stronger than the saint. Haha. Kushina then realized that few people knew about what she said, and she immediately laughed. Well, these are just made up by the two of us for fun. Don't believe it, brother Sakumo. Whether it's made up or not, I'll ask the parties involved and we'll know. If it's true, you two can't escape the 6-month confinement. Huh? Brother, aren't you going too far? Kushina was unhappy and took a few steps forward to talk to Hatake Sakumo. Senior Sakumo, these two are my new disciples, and they will be Kakashi's teammates in the future. At this time, Minato was still very helpful, pulling Obito and Nohara forward and introducing them to Hatake Sakumo. After this interruption, Hatake Sakumo did not pursue what Chiga and Kushina did. He just smiled at Obito and Nohara and said, hello, I'm Hatake Sakumo. I'll ask you to take good care of Kakashi in the future. Uncle Sakumo, I'm Uchiha Obito. Just leave Kakashi to me. I will definitely protect him on the battlefield. Obito stepped forward and patted Kakashi's shoulder, saying proudly. Hatake Sakumo smiled and said nothing. He could see that, although this boy was good at talking big, he still had some talent. When it was Nohara's turn to introduce herself, it was a little different. Uncle Sakumo, I'm Nohara. I'm 8 years old this year and live in Konoha village. I'm the only daughter in the family. My parents run a jewelry store. In the future, I want to become a medical ninja like Tsunade-sama. In this way, if Kakashi gets injured, I can take care of him myself. And Nohara introduced herself while stealing a glance at Kakashi. The more Chiga listened to this introduction, the more something was wrong. Kushina squatted down, poked Chiga, and whispered in Chiga's ear, hey, it seems that this girl has set her sights on Kakashi. Didn't you ever trick such a devoted girl back then? Chiga said disdainfully, I've heard many, but I just don't like him. I've known you for 2 years, and I've never seen you get intimate with any little girl. I'm afraid you haven't even touched a little girl's hand? Kushina said with disdain. It seems that this her family doesn't know how to get something for nothing. Compared to the embarrassed Hatake Sakumo, Obito was much more desperate. It's over. The goddess has already met Kakashi's parents, but he still hasn't made any progress. Chiga stepped forward and patted Obito on the shoulder, comforting him. Don't think about it. Seriously speaking, I'm half your parent. Compared to Uncle Tsukumo who didn't express his opinion, I have agreed that you two can be together. Of course, whether you can catch up depends on you. So Obito, you are progressing faster than Kakashi. Get out of here. Looking at Chiga who was taking advantage of him all the time, Obito burst into tears. Okay, I'm glad that Kakashi can have you two teammates. Facing Nohara-rin who wanted to squeeze into his house, Hatake Tsukumo didn't seem to know what to say and could only urge Kushina and Chiga. Well, you two should follow me now, the third Hokage is still waiting. Kushina and Chiga heard this, and after saying goodbye to Minato's class, they followed Hatake Tsukumo. Soon, the three of them arrived at the Hokage's office. Sir Hokage, I have brought Kushina Uzumaki and Shigarachia here. I'm leaving now. After Hatake Tsukumo said goodbye, he closed the door of the Hokage's office. Old man, why did you call us here? We haven't caused any trouble recently. Kushina said impatiently when she saw Sarutobi Hiruzen looking at a report in his hand. Chiga also said with a confident look, yes, Sir Hokage, I can guarantee that Kushina and I have been very honest recently. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked up and glanced at the two of them with a look of disbelief on his face. However, he really didn't call the two of them here to punish them, so after putting down the report in his hand, he tried to show a kind smile to the two of them. Okay, I haven't received any complaints about you two for a long time, and I didn't call you here this time because you caused any trouble. Don't, old man, you'd better be more careful. I'm scared when you laugh like this. As soon as Kushina saw Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression, she knew that this matter had become a big deal. Since it is not to punish them, then they must have something to ask for, which is even more troublesome. Sarutobi Hiruzen rolled his eyes at the two of them and continued, I called you here to tell you that the new class of Genin has graduated, and there is still a group that has not found a suitable instructor. If it hasn't been found, then it hasn't been found. I don't plan to take on new people anymore. Don't force new people on me. When Kushina heard this, she immediately waved her hand, indicating that she would rather die than accept new people. Who said I asked you to take care of it? However, Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed disdainfully and then looked at Chiga. Looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen's meaningful eyes, Chiga was stunned. However, he asked uncertainly, Third Hokage, you don't want me to take care of it, do you? Ah. Kushina was also dumbfounded. Seeing that Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't speak for a long time, the two knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen was serious. Chiga said, Hokage, I'm not suitable to be a mentor at my age, right? Nothing is inappropriate. You were able to consider the safety of your teammates during the Chunin exams, so you're already a qualified captain, not to mention your strength. At this point, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Besides, as you know, we in Konoha are short of manpower recently. We don't have enough Jonin, so we can only let Chunin make do. Chiga and Kushina stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen with dead eyes. You keep making it up. This is a lie. Obviously, he didn't want to see the two of them doing whatever they wanted in Konoha village, so he tried his best to separate them. The reason he found is too bad. Chapter 117 Instructor. Sarutobi Hiruzen himself did not believe what he said. Seeing Chiga and Kushina looking at him like that, he could only come clean and say, well, I'll tell you the truth. You two have been in Konoha village for a year and a half, and you have done a lot of nonsense. Danzō, Orochimaru, Jiraiya and others have long been dissatisfied, and the pile of complaint letters is higher than the Hokage cliff. Even so, I still bit the bullet and helped you two to carry it. But can you two consider my health? I'm already over 50 years old. Not only do I have to worry about the affairs of the village every day, but I also have to speak well of Danzō and others for the sake of you two. Is it easy for me? Sarutobi Hiruzen persuaded them with reason and emotion, and even wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes with his hand to express how difficult it was in the past year and a half. While wiping his tears, Sarutobi Hiruzen stole a glance at Chiga and Kushina, but found that they were unmoved. He became ruthless and continued, besides, you two can't keep messing around like this for the rest of your life. Kushina, you will marry Minato sooner or later. As the saying goes, husband and wife are one. You don't want to offend those people and transfer their hatred towards Minato, right? Kushina's face finally changed when she heard this. As for Chiga, your Uchiha clan is also dissatisfied with your nonsense, right? At the beginning, the land country issued a bounty on you, so you didn't leave the village. Now it's been a year and a half. Although the bounty has not been revoked, not many people are paying attention to it anymore. Besides, you don't have much money on you, right? Don't you plan to go out on missions to earn some money? At this point, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Chiga with a smile. Chiga's face rose. In the past year and a half, in order to test the Sage mode, he used a lot of the Inuzuka clan's secret medicine in the crows. The money was spent like a waterfall, and his deposit plummeted. The Inuzuka clan thought he was a big customer and gave him a Supreme VIP card, which offered him a 20% discount. The rewards from the 2S level missions had already been almost squandered. There really wasn't much money on them. Sarutobi Hiruzen lectured the two and really hit their pain points. It seemed that Sarutobi Hiruzen had thought about this for a long time before coming up with it. Kushina and Chiga looked at each other and realized that Sarutobi Hiruzen was not going to let the two continue to fool around. Chiga thought for a while and said, okay, I accept the job of being the instructor. In fact, if Sarutobi Hiruzen hadn't made this move, Chiga was also planning to propose an outing mission. Kushina didn't object when she heard this. Although she was a little unhappy in her heart, Chiga still had to raise crows, spend money on daily expenses, and even get married in the future. It would be difficult to do without money. She couldn't let her willfulness affect Chiga's life. Sarutobi Hiruzen also smiled and handed a document to Chiga. This is the genin of teammate this year. Take a look. After Chiga took it, he just glanced at it and looked up at Sarutobi Hiruzen and asked, no, Third Hokage, are these three really here for a mission? Kushina was surprised. Although she often made Sarutobi Hiruzen angry, Chiga had never spoken to him in this tone. Why, your teammates are bad. Let me see. She immediately took the information from Chiga's hand out of curiosity. Kushina also just glanced at it and looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with contempt. Old man, you are really smart. You said so much nonsense just to force your son Asuma to Chiga. Nonsense. These three are all outstanding graduates of Konoha. I took a long time to select them. Sarutobi Hiruzen said righteously. TSK. Kushina looked unconvinced, but didn't say much. After all, everyone has selfish desires, even if they are dedicated to the village's Hokage. Moreover, it must be said that Sarutobi Asuma is really an outstanding graduate. Apart from Chiga and Kakashi, Asuma is the top star of this ninja school. Therefore, Sarutobi Hiruzen's selfishness is just to give Asuma an additional guarantee. The Flying Thunder God technique is famous for its speed in battle, and also for running away. Kushina didn't dwell on this question too much, and looked at the other side of the information, frowned and asked, by the way, what's the matter with Shizune? Shouldn't this little girl leave the village with Sister Tsunade? I remember Sister Tsunade once said that she would take Shizune out for a walk after Shizune graduated. I didn't agree. Sarutobi Hiruzen said, you know, in the casino, someone once disguised himself as a gambler and used Tsunade's weakness of hemophobia to cheat Tsunade out of a sum of money. And Tsunade's hemophobia is a secret, and few people in the whole village know about it. So, in order to protect Tsunade, I had to issue an order to prohibit her from leaving the village. Is that so? Kushina glanced at Chiga calmly and felt that her behavior of hiding Chiga from her was really correct. She didn't want to see Tsunade leave the village either. In order to keep Tsunade in the village, I have made a lot of sacrifices. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Tsunade had already regarded him as an ATM. Haha, I was wondering why Sister Tsunade hasn't asked me for money recently. It turns out that she's been taken advantage of. Kushina looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a gloating look. She knew that Tsunade never paid back the money she borrowed. Okay, Chiga, go meet your teammates first. They've been waiting for you at the second training ground in Konoha for a long time. Kushina, stay for a while. Seeing that Chiga had agreed to lead the team, Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand and asked Chiga to leave first. Okay, then I'll take my leave first, Third Hokage. Chiga glanced at Kushina, then left the Hokage's office, and walked towards the second training ground in Konoha. Old man, what are you doing? Kushina was still a little resentful of Sarutobi Hiruzen for breaking up her and Chiga's team, so her tone was very aggressive. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't care about Kushina's attitude, he just asked, you can tell Chiga about that, as long as he can keep it a secret. Kushina was slightly stunned. She really wanted to tell Chiga several times about her being the Ninetales Jinchuriki. Why did you suddenly think of exposing my identity to Chiga? Firstly, you two have established the so-called bond, and secondly, it's time to let your disciple know about this. Sarutobi Hiruzen said meaningfully. The second step of the perfect Jinchuriki requires Chiga to exert his strength. I always feel that you have some secrets that cannot be revealed. Kushina looked up at Sarutobi Hiruzen and muttered. But originally, Kushina felt a little guilty about hiding this matter from Chiga. Now that she can tell Chiga the specific reason, she is still very happy. Chapter 118. Something is wrong with the little girl. In the second training ground of Konoha. Damn it, which Jonin is it that hasn't come yet? I must report it to the old man. Sarutobi Asuma waited and waited, but the teacher in charge of his class didn't come. He was already full of anger. Asuma, stop walking around. I feel like I'm under a genjutsu. Kunoha was also a little impatient, but she became even more annoyed when she saw Asuma walking back and forth. Ah, Kunoha, you feel dizzy. Is it because of the sun? Is it possible that you have heat stroke? Asuma Sarutobi hurriedly walked to Kunoha and asked with concern. When Kunoha saw Asuma Sarutobi approaching, she subconsciously took a step back. Asuma Sarutobi's body stiffened. Since 2 years ago, when Kunoha was under Chiga's Jinjutsu, he hadn't let him get close to him. Thinking of it, Asuma Sarutobi felt surrounded by an unknown anger. Wait a little longer, he should be here soon. Seeing that her two teammates were getting a little impatient, Shizune said in a low voice. Shizune, do you know who our team leader is? Sarutobi Asuma heard this and looked at Shizune in surprise. He had also asked his old man who he would arrange for him to be the captain, but the old man refused to say. Not very clear. Shizune shook her head and said, Tsunade-sama didn't say it clearly, but from Tsunade-sama's tone, the other party is not very old. Not very old? How young can he be? Could he be the same age as us? Sarutobi Asuma said with a smile. As soon as he finished speaking, Chiga appeared in front of the three. Chiga saw the three and greeted them with a smile. Hey, you three, are you basking in the sun? Chiga? What are you doing here, you bastard? As soon as Sarutobi Asuma saw Chiga, his face suddenly turned black. Negative emotions from Sarutobi Asuma, emotion value plus 80. Negative emotions from Kunoha, emotion value plus 10. Chiga raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Kunoha. Sarutobi Asuma had resentment against him. He could understand, but why did Kunoha still hold a grudge? But when he looked at her, he found that Kunoha was also staring at him, but there was no disgust in her eyes, just resentment. What a mess. Chiga was too lazy to think about it and just said, okay, follow me. Why follow you? We are waiting for us here. Asuma was stunned before he finished speaking. A young instructor. Can he be the same age as you? If he is younger? Chiga, you. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Asuma pointed at Chiga, trembling for a long time and unable to say a word. Although I really want to say no, as you think, I'm your instructor and the captain of the 8th team. Chiga replied weakly. How is it possible? You are just a chunin. How can you be qualified to be an instructor? Sarutobi Asuma looked incredulous. Kunoha and Shizune were also shocked. They knew something about this former classmate, and they also knew that he had become a chunin. But only a jonin could be a mentor. It's a bit complicated to talk about this matter, but if you disagree, you can report it to the 3rd Hokage. If you can relieve me of my position as a mentor, I will be happy. Chiga spread his hands and said. Sarutobi Asuma was silent for a while, shook his head and said, Humph, the old man wants me to die on the battlefield by letting you be my mentor. I will do as he wishes. Chiga looked at Sarutobi Asuma speechlessly. These two fathers and sons, one silently paved the way for his son, but was unwilling to explain, and the other was in a rebellious period and wanted to do something the more he was told not to do it. He was too lazy to explain the key point, so he let Sarutobi Asuma misunderstand. Anyway, he was just tricked by Sarutobi Hiruzen, and he was not in a good mood. Well, let's get to the point. No need to introduce yourself, we are all classmates, we already know each other's names and hobbies. Sarutobi Asuma and the other two nodded when they heard this. They had introduced themselves when they entered school. Although a few years have passed and everyone has changed, it is not that important. Since you have no objection, I have to say something in advance. Although we are classmates, our relationship is not bad. But ninjas are ninjas, and obeying orders is their duty. When I give an order, no objection is allowed. Do you understand? Chika's whole body was burning with chakra, and a pair of scalded eyes swept over the three people, and finally fell on Sarutobi Asuma. The strong pressure almost made Sarutobi Asuma collapse to the ground. There is no order without rules, and Chika didn't want to show off his power as soon as they met, but Sarutobi Asuma was a thorn in the side, and he had to suppress him to make this guy behave. He didn't expect the other party to respect him, at least during the mission. He just didn't sing against him. I understand. The three of them were also shocked. They never thought that this classmate who graduated 2 years ago would bring them so much pressure. Very good. In this case, the Chiga class is established. Are you happy? Chiga retracted his momentum and said with a playful smile. Oh, is it okay like this? No need for strength test or something? I see that many classes require the instructor to test the strength. Those who fail will go back to the ninja school. Sarutobi Asuma wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said in amazement. The instructor has great power. Once a newly graduated genin is assigned to him, he can formulate the assessment according to his own style. Genin who fail will be sent back to the ninja school for a training. Hey, why waste time? Chiga sighed and explained. I won't say anything about Hang. Behind you and Shizune, one is the third Hokage and the other is Tsunade. Do you think I can still stay in Konoha if I don't let you to graduate? This made Sarutobi Asuma and Shizune silent. But Yuhi Kurenoi was a little unhappy. She stared into Chiga's eyes and said angrily, my father is not worthy of you, right? Although she knew that Chiga was telling the truth, she always felt that the other party looked down on her. How could she tolerate this? Chiga also found that she seemed to be treated differently and apologized repeatedly. Sorry, then should I add your father? Humph. Chiga's words were no different from adding fuel to the fire. Yuhi Kurenoi almost got furious, but she still held back. She clenched her fists tightly and swore in her heart that one day, Chiga would be like a mouse seeing a cat when she saw my father. On the premise of guaranteeing 2 updates every day, I will try to update 3 times. Chapter 119 Kissing to Get Pregnant. In this way, Asuma Sarutobi, Kurenoi Yuhi and Shizune successfully became a genin. Under the leadership of Chiga, the 4 began to clean up the D-level task again. Of course, in daily life, Chiga would occasionally improve the strength of Asuma Sarutobi and the other 2. Speaking of this, Chiga is really suitable to be the instructor of Asuma and Kurenoi Yuhi. Asuma Sarutobi has the attributes of wind and fire, and Chiga is quite proficient in these 2 attributes. Kurenoi Yuhi, who specializes in illusion, was able to use the Sharingan to turn Kurenoi Yuhi into RBQ when Chiga was in ninja school. Not to mention now, just a few words can benefit Kurenoi Yuhi a lot. As for the remaining Shizune, this is a bonus, purely to prevent Tsunade from raising her to waist, so there is no need to worry too much. In this way, Sarutobi Hiruzen also thought carefully before deciding to let Chiga be the instructor. Still picking up trash all day long, can't you change to a more difficult task? At a familiar sewer entrance, Sarutobi Asuma had 2 pieces of paper stuffed in his nostrils, and he picked up the trash and threw it into the trash can behind him with a look of despair. Around him were Kurenoi Yuhi and Shizune. They were dressed the same as Sarutobi Asuma, and their faces were also pale. Kurenoi Yuhi and Shizune couldn't stand it anymore. It wasn't because the task was low level, but purely because Chiga always looked for such tasks with smell. As a girl, how could she tolerate the stench on her body? compared to Chiga, who had the leisure to hum songs elegantly back then. Sarutobi Asuma and the other two didn't have such a mentality. Hearing what Sarutobi Asuma said, Kuryuhi glanced at Chiga, who was basking in the sun by the river, and complained, "Yeah, someone is obviously our instructor, but he only tells us to work, but he doesn't do it himself. I heard that several other teams have received C-level tasks and left the village." Shizune also said loudly, "Really? No, I can't fall behind. I was the first when I graduated from the ninja school, but now I haven't even completed a C-level mission." Chiga, shouldn't you give us a high-level mission to practice? Yeah, we won't do it if you keep picking up trash. The three chatted and wanted to go on strike to put more pressure on Chiga. The kids nowadays are really impatient. Seeing that the three were about to force the emperor, Chiga could only sigh and then said earnestly, "I really like doing D-level missions at the beginning. It was easy and there would be no accidents. I don't believe it. Who would like such a low-paying and troublesome mission?" Sarutobi Asuma stepped on the can under his feet angrily, thinking that Chiga was just perfunctory. Haha, Chiga is really right. He really liked doing D-level missions at the beginning. He even made me the team leader, impatient. Before Chiga could explain, Kushina's laughter came from a distance. She was seen holding 4 lunch boxes in her hands, walking slowly to Chiga, and said to Sarutobi Asuma and the other two, "It's noon, come and eat. Today I made your favorite food." Since the exchange with Sarutobi Hiruzen that day, and in the absence of Chiga, Kushina has calmed down, no longer causing trouble for the village, now obsessed with cooking, being a housewife. Every day, she has to prepare lunch for Chiga and Minato's 2 teams. The three were very happy to hear what Kushina said, but they did not step forward, just looked at Chiga. Chiga looked at the results of Sarutobi Asuma and the other two in the morning, and found that, although the three complained, the mission was not compromised, and nodded with satisfaction. Then she waved her hand and said, "Let's eat first." Hearing this, Sarutobi Asuma and the other two put down the trash cans behind them and ran over. Looking at Chiga's style, Kushina smiled slightly, and she really looked like a captain. After eating and drinking, Chiga saw that Kushina did not leave for a while, and understood what was going on, and then urged Sarutobi Asuma and the other two to continue picking up trash. After the three left, Chiga asked curiously, "Teacher Kushina, do you have anything to say to me?" Kushina nodded, then clapped her hands on the ground, and a small ceiling barrier appeared around Chiga, wrapping Chiga and Kushina in it. Chiga raised his eyebrows, his face slightly serious, waiting for Kushina to speak. "Chiga, do you know why I can't leave the village?" Kushina hesitated for a while before asking. Why else? Didn't you say you are the sealed ninja in the village?" Chiga stopped talking halfway, because he knew that, if it was just this, Kushina would not set up a ceiling barrier to prevent the conversation between the two from being heard by outsiders. Of course not. Kushina put her hands on her abdomen, gritted her teeth, and said in a deep voice, "Next, I will tell you a secret you can't tell anyone else." Although she had the authorization of Sarutobi Hiruzen, she hesitated for several days. After all, the matter of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki was of great importance, and she hasn't figured out why the 3rd generation old man wanted to let Chiga know that she was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Didn't the 3rd generation old man know that letting Chiga know about this would put Chiga in a dilemma? On one side is the family, and on the other side is her teacher. "Teacher Kushina, you are not pregnant, are you?" Chiga looked at Kushina covering her abdomen and was horrified. Senior Minato actually had this kind of courage to get on the bus first and buy the ticket later. Kushina was about to say that she was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, but when she heard Chiga's words, her originally heavy face flushed in an instant, and she punched Chiga on the head without thinking. "No. Minato and I are only at the kissing stage right now." Chiga didn't dodge and was hit hard. He covered his head and said faintly, "These days, you can get pregnant by kissing." Of course he knew what the secret was that Kushina was going to tell him. Although he didn't know why Kushina suddenly wanted to tell him, seeing that Kushina had a heavy expression on her face, he wanted to liven up the atmosphere. "Nonsense. How can you get pregnant by kissing?" Kushina looked at Chiga with disdain. No wonder she thought she could get pregnant by kissing before she even knew how to do it. "You can really get pregnant by kissing." Even holding hands can. You have to believe me, Teacher Kushina. Chiga tried his best to refute. His teacher was still too naive. He should go to the bookstore more often. There were so many tricks in those pornographic books. How is that possible? The teacher told you that pregnancy requires a man. Kushina was about to share some physiological knowledge with Chiga, but then she remembered that she was supposed to tell him that she was the Ninetales Jinchuriki, a secret that few people in the entire Konoha village knew. How did the topic suddenly turn to knowledge about sex? Thanks for the reward from finding this world's dream. Chapter 120 The Name of the Nine-Tailed Fox. Bang! Kushina punched Chiga on the head again and said angrily, "Damn it, can you just listen to me quietly? Okay, I won't say anything. You say I'm listening." After Chiga's nonsense, Kushina did feel a little less heavy and said to Chiga bluntly, "In fact, I'm the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of Konoha village." Oh. Chiga nodded. "Aren't you surprised?" Kushina was stunned. Chiga's reaction was beyond her expectations. Chiga asked casually, "Should I act surprised?" If it wasn't for the fact that Kushina might not believe it, he wanted to say that he knew it in his previous life. How could it be? Am I so bad at hiding it? Kushina was mad. She thought she had concealed it very well, but she didn't expect that her own disciple had already known it. Looking at Kushina's confused eyes, Chiga thought about it and gave an explanation. "Teacher Kushina, you and I have learned the sealing technique for such a long time, and I can still see that you have a sealing technique, and it is a very strong sealing technique. Combined with the attitude of the third Hokage and the fact that you cannot leave the village, the answer is obvious, isn't it? But what I'm more curious about is, Teacher Kushina, why did you suddenly tell me this? As far as I know, even people like Jiraiya and Tsunade don't know." Upon hearing this, Kushina pouted and said, "I don't know either. It was the third Hokage who asked me to tell you." Huh? Third Hokage? Kyan frowned. Was it a test? Like Kushina, Kyan's first reaction was that Sarutobi Hiruzen was testing whether he was loyal to the family or the village. But after thinking about it carefully, it didn't seem to be a big deal for the Uchiha clan to know about this. The current Uchiha clan does not have a pair of Mangekyou Sharingan that can control the Ninetales. And it was the dove-like Uchiha who was in charge, and he was bored and went to trouble the Ninetales. Don't think about it. I don't know why the old man asked me to tell you this, but I feel bad for keeping it a secret from you. Now that I've said it, I feel much more relieved." Kushina smiled. "By the way, Teacher Kushina, have you communicated with the Ninetales?" Since the Ninetales was already mentioned, Chiga thought it would be a good thing to let Kushina become a perfect Jinchuriki. Moreover, Kushina, no, it should be said that Naruto is very similar to Kushina in terms of personality. Maybe it would be possible for Kushina and the Ninetales to play happily. Of course. Kushina was full of anger when she talked about this. "When I first sealed this guy into my body, I also tried to communicate with it calmly. But that bastard has a bad temper and is very arrogant. He always calls it a little girl and a little brat. You know, I'm not a good-tempered person. I always have a quarrel with it. Over time, I gave up this plan." At this point, Kushina spread her hands, indicating that she had no way out. "So, Kushina teacher, have you ever thought about influencing the Ninetales and becoming a perfect Jinchuriki?" Chiga asked. "That monster is not so easy to influence." Kushina replied. "Kushina teacher, you see your attitude is wrong. How can an intelligent creature like others to keep calling it with such a derogatory word? Really? Yes, I think you should be patient and have a good chat with it." Chiga mentioned the Ninetales, which actually made Kushina a little moved. If she could establish a friendly relationship with the Ninetales and become a perfect Jinchuriki, she should be able to leave the cage of Konoha. But when she thought of the previous conversation with the Ninetales, she immediately turned her head away and said with disdain, "I don't want to chat with that guy who has a bad temper like a stone in the toilet." Teacher Kushina, you should be considerate of the Ninetales. It also yearns for freedom, not to be sealed with sealing techniques and used as a tool. Put yourself in its shoes. Do you think it will have a good temper? Moreover, I think you should understand its feelings better. Kushina was stunned when she heard this. Although she was imprisoned in the cage of Konoha because of the Ninetales, she was still the cage of the Ninetales. Why do you make me feel that it is more pitiful than me when you say that? After Kushina came to her senses, she ruffled Chiga's hair in annoyance. Chiga didn't pay attention to Kushina's behavior and continued, let's talk to it again. For example, let's find out its name first. The nine-tailed fox can't always be called the nine-tailed fox. It has a name? No way. Kushina looked at her own disciple in confusion. Since the tailed beasts were first discovered, people have called them according to the number of their tails. Few people know the real names of these tailed beasts. Chiga asked, do you know the one tail of the wind country? Yes. The one tail Shukaku. Kushina said without thinking, and then she realized something and said suddenly, oh, that's right. Since the one tail is called Shukaku, the nine-tailed fox should also have a name. Chiga, do you know? The one in your family has controlled it, so he should have told you its name, right? I don't know, so you have to ask. Chiga did not tell Kushina the name of the nine-tailed fox. In his opinion, it would be meaningful if Kushina asked the nine-tailed fox herself. I want to wait until you become a perfect Jinkriki, and the third Hokage will no longer restrict your freedom. Yeah. Kushina's eyes flashed with excitement. Being able to enter and leave the village freely was a great temptation for her. Chiga had something else to say. Maybe it was Minato who restricted her freedom. But there was no need to care about this. Minato's family status had always been low. I won't talk to you anymore. I decided to talk to the Ninetales again, but I still have to do some preparation before the chat. Otherwise that guy's chakra will leak out, and the third Hokage will think I'm going to make trouble again. After Chiga's instructions, Kushina also moved a little and left in a hurry. After Chiga sent Kushina away, Asuma came over. Okay, just stand there, don't come over, just say it if you have anything to say. Smelling the stench all over his body, Chiga frowned and asked him to go away before letting him speak. What I want to say is, since you are our instructor now, can we be considered as Kushina Senpai's people as well? Not really. Chiga asked puzzledly, what do you want to do? Hahaha, if I make my old man angry, will Kushina Senpai help me vent his anger? This is your family affair, and you are still expecting teacher Kushina to take action. What are you thinking? Chiga rolled his eyes at Asuma. This kid is really good at calculating, and even plotted against Kushina. Chapter 121 A-level mission. 3 days later, Chiga felt that the team had almost gotten used to each other, and it was time to take on some difficult missions. Speaking of which, he hadn't left the village for a long time. In the Hokage's office. Hey, it's Chiga. Has the team gotten used to each other? Sarutobi Hiruzen saw Chiga coming in with his son and asked with a smile. Well, almost. They are all excellent graduates, so they will get used to each other quickly. Chiga perfunctorily said, and then said, Third Hokage, we are here to take on missions. Sarutobi Hiruzen heard this and asked, so what kind of mission do you want to take on? Are there any in the land of grass? Chiga had already thought of the destination of the mission. Originally, he also wanted to let Minato take back Uzumaki Misa, but unfortunately, because of an emergency at the border of the Land of Lightning, Minato was always active there. Chiga didn't give this matter to Minato. Later, Chiga and Kushina were obsessed with making trouble and forgot about it for a while. It was not until recently that Chiga remembered it. Ahem. Are you too impatient? It's better to stay in the Land of Fire. I have a C-rank mission to eliminate bandits. How about letting these three see blood first? Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed a few times. He had already held a mission document in his hand. In fact, he had already prepared the mission document and was waiting for Chiga's class to come and collect it. I didn't expect Chiga to come, but he didn't play by the rules. He wanted to go to the Land of Grass right away. How could you go to the Land of Grass? One of the main places where the rock ninjas are active. Even though a year and a half have passed, most people in the ninja world can't remember who Chiga is, but the rock ninjas will not forget. I asked you to take my son, but you insisted on going to a dangerous place, right? Are you afraid that my son will not die quickly enough with you? Facing Sarutobi Hiruzen's resentful eyes, Chiga replied with a smile, we are all excellent graduates. We should take some difficult tasks and contribute to the village. Since Chiga has made the decision, Sarutobi Hiruzen can't persuade him anymore. All the tasks related to the Land of Grass can only be handed over to Chiga. All the tasks for the Land of Grass are here. Take a look. Sarutobi Hiruzen took out a large pile of tasks and placed them in front of Chiga, asking Chiga to choose. Looking at this pile of tasks about the Land of Grass, Chiga frowned slightly. There are so many tasks in the Land of Grass alone, so how many are there in other countries combined? Although more commissions are good for the finances of Konoha village, but it can also be seen that the ninja world has begun to become unpeaceful. The third ninja world war is not far away. After flipping through the tasks, Chiga soon found the task she wanted. Third generation Hokage, we will accept this task. Handing the task she wanted to accept to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned when he saw the level of the task. Chiga, think it through. This is an A-level mission, and you have to sneak into the Kusagakure village to complete it. Kusagakure village is different from Konoha village. It's more like a military base than a village. There are no ordinary people in it, and they need to check their identities when they enter and leave. Without any means of hiding, you can't even get in. Don't worry, third Hokage, with the flying thunder god technique, even if I'm discovered, I can easily escape, and I and my teammates won't be surrounded. Chiga didn't know what Sarutobi Hiruzen was worried about, so he quickly assured him. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Sarutobi Asuma calmly and saw that his son had fallen into a frenzy when he heard about the A-level mission, and he was helpless. This silly son, when he heard about the high-level mission, he forgot the danger of the mission. Is the A-level mission so simple? This is already a mission related to the village or the country. But as Chiga said, with the existence of the flying thunder god technique, it is still easy for Chiga to leave with his teammates. After thinking for a while, Sarutobi Hiruzen said, in that case, this A-level mission will be handed over to you. Then, third Hokage, we'll take our leave first. After receiving the mission, Chiga didn't stay, but before he walked out of the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen called him again. Wait a minute, Chiga. Anything else? Third Hokage? Chiga asked in confusion. Sarutobi Hiruzen asked, do you know what your teacher is doing recently? Although Sarutobi Hiruzen always felt that he had good eloquence, and Kushina did quiet down a lot after his lecture, he still felt a little uneasy in his heart, always feeling that Kushina was just holding back a big wave. What else can I do? I'm addicted to cooking. I heard that teacher Kushina bought a recipe book, and the dishes she made can glow. She has been studying it. Chiga certainly knew what Kushina was doing. Kushina had told him a long time ago that Chiga should keep the matter of communicating with the Nine Tails a secret and wait until she can really become a perfect Jinchuriki and scare the old man third Hokage to death. Since his teacher was so playful, Chiga certainly didn't intend to ruin it. Really? Learning to cook is a good hobby. I hope Kushina can stick to it and Minato will be blessed in the future. Sarutobi Hiruzen breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. As long as he didn't cause trouble, it would be fine. Studying cooking was also good, but could the dishes be eaten up? Where did Kushina buy the recipe? How could Kushina believe such nonsense? He didn't think much about it. After all, ordinary people couldn't keep up with Kushina's thinking. After leaving the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Asuma also calmed down after the initial excitement. Are you really going to take this A-level mission? It's too exaggerated for the three noobs to complete an A-level mission under Chiga's leadership. Why, are you scared? Chiga raised his eyebrows. Nonsense, how is it possible? I was afraid that you would only take C-level rubbish missions. Looking at Asuma who was talking but thinking, Chiga was too lazy to say it. Okay, we'll set off today. I'll give you 1 hour. Meet at the gate of Konoha village in 1 hour. 3 days later, Chiga's team was moving forward in the lush forest. Captain, we've been traveling all day, take a break. Asuma, who was at the back, looked up at the sky. The sky was gloomy, and it seemed that it was going to rain. In addition, the entire ninja world was about to enter winter, and the temperature difference between day and night was very large. Upon hearing this, Chiga gestured to Asuma, Hang and Shizune to stop, and then looked at the gloomy sky like Asuma. Okay, this is still within the territory of the Land of Fire, but we must be vigilant. I'll set up the trap, and the three of you will set up the tent, and start a fire. Chapter 122, Fruit of Grass. As night fell, Chiga and the other three soon finished what they were supposed to do. Asuma Sarutobi set up a tent, while Kurenai, Yuhi and Shizune built a fire and cooked. As for Chiga, he had summoned hundreds of crows and let them roost around the temporary camp to keep watch. Not only that, he also released a ceiling barrier around it, so that Chiga could quickly find any disturbance. In front of the fire, the four of them sat together and ate food in silence. Chiga took out the map at this time and looked carefully at the faint light of the campfire. After finding the current location and Kusagakure on the map, Chiga observed the distance and said, "It will take about a day to get to Kusagakure. It's finally here. By the way, Chiga, have you figured out how to sneak into Kusagakure?" Asuma Sarutobi stretched and asked excitedly. A-level mission. He didn't expect that he could jump directly from a D-level mission to an A-level mission, which was something he dared not even think about. During the journey, Kyan had already told Sarutobi, Asuma and the other two about this A-level mission. Kusagakure is a very strange ninja village. There are two forces. One is the pro-war faction Kusunoshi who wants to revive Kusagakure, and the other is the anti-war faction Kusunohana. The forces of the two sides are as powerful as fire and water. Behind these two forces stand two big countries, the Land of Earth and the Land of Fire. These two countries have never thought about integrating the strength of the Land of Grass. They use the forces of the two parties as pawns and control them separately. Therefore, the Land of Grass has been in war for many years. This time, the pro-war faction Kusagakure received a large amount of material assistance from the Rock Ninja. Relying on the Rock Ninja's sophisticated ninja tools and many items such as detonating tags, they temporarily suppressed the anti-war faction Kusagakure. In this regard, the ninjas of the Flower of Grass also want to get help from the Fire Country to make up for their disadvantages. Unfortunately, with the black-hearted Sarutobi Hiruzen, it is not so easy to get the materials of the Fire Country for free, but it would be unreasonable not to help. After all, he was a dog of his own family. How could he stand by and watch him get bullied? So, Sarutobi Hiruzen thought, since they didn't give him supplies, why not just destroy the other party's supplies? That's how this A-level mission came about. Chiga took on this mission because they considered that Hana no Kyusa was on good terms with Konoha, and they wouldn't hide a member of the Uzumaki clan. So it was very likely that Mr. Uzumaki was at Kusano no Mitsuru's place. Even if something went wrong, at most they could go to Hana no Kyusa and take another look. Not yet. Chiga replied. "Ah, I thought you had already figured out how to get in before you took on this mission." Sarutobi Asuma rolled his eyes when he heard this. "Don't get excited. There will always be a way to get in. When we get to the Land of Grass, we will naturally know how to sneak in. If that doesn't work, just make a scene." Each ninja village would set up a barrier around the village, and for Chiga, it was still confident to sneak into Kusanagi village without destroying the barrier. As for how to act after entering the Kusagakure village, this is the more troublesome part. And they also need to find a place to store supplies. Humph, anyway, you are the captain. How to act is what you need to consider. Sarutobi Asuma heard this and said nothing more. Kyan closed the map and said, "Take turns to keep watch tonight." Asuma was a little unhappy when he heard this. This is the territory of the Land of Fire. Why do we need to keep watch in this place? Is there any Kusagakure ninja who can get here through our defense line? Kyan ignored Asuma's complaints and just replied calmly, "Ninjas must keep their vigilance at all times in order to survive. Have you forgotten everything you learned in school? Okay. You are the captain and you have the final say." Asuma was just talking. The defense line is not without loopholes, and it has reached the border of the Land of Fire. It is not too careful. Chiga looked at Yuhi, Kurenai and Shizune and said, "You two will keep watch together. I will watch the first half of the night, and Asuma will take over my shift after midnight. You two will take over Asuma's shift at 4 in the morning, and get up at 7 tomorrow morning to continue your journey." Beautiful young ladies have privileges everywhere, and even Chiga gives the two girls some special care. However, this is not the main reason why Chiga did not let the two of them keep watch for a long time. The more crucial thing is that Shizune and Kurenai are weaker than him and Asuma, and they have no reconnaissance ability. Chiga is a little worried. Hearing Chiga's words, Shizune and Kurenai were about to say something, but were interrupted by Asuma. "Okay, call me when the shift is changed in the middle of the night." After that, he walked into the tent. Hang was somewhat dissatisfied with Chai and Asuma for leaving her to guard the night without her consent. Asuma had already entered the tent and could only glare at Chai fiercely. Don't underestimate me. Yes, and Chai, you have already set up barriers and crows around us. Guarding the night is just a formality. You don't need to take special care of us too. Shizune also said. Chai ignored Hang's murderous eyes and picked her nose calmly. I'm the captain. Do you want to disobey my orders? Humph. Hang snorted and could only walk into the tent peacefully. Seeing this, Shizune followed Hang silently. When Chai waited until the three of them entered the tent, he was stunned. Why is there only one tent? He asked Sarutobi Asuma to set up the tent, but now it seems that Sarutobi Asuma is very scheming. Logically speaking, as a ninja, you don't mind being in the same tent with your companions, but if conditions permit, male and female ninjas will still be separated from each other. After thinking for a while, Kayane shouted to the three people in the tent, wait a minute, 3 people squeezed in one tent will not be able to sleep at night, and will not have the energy to travel during the day. I will build another tent for you. As soon as Kayane finished speaking, a Kyune suddenly flew out of the tent and stuck under Kayane's feet. Then Shizune and Kyune, with red faces, came out. Needless to say, it was known that the Kyune was thrown by the furious Asuma. As for Shizune and Yuhi Kyune, they didn't think much about it, but after Kayane said that, their minds began to crooked. With Kayane's enthusiastic help, Shizune and Kyune quickly built a tent. Kayane felt that there was a strong murderous gaze watching his every move throughout the whole process. Haha. Kayane responded with a triumphant laugh. After such a small episode, the temporary camp soon became quiet, and Sarutobi Asuma and the other two fell into a deep sleep. Kayane was bored looking at the fire. Thanks to Duzayaxing for the reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123, Killing the Enemy. Captain Satake, do you want to take a break? Ichiro Kusashi, who was in the middle of the team, asked the leading Kusashi. However, before Satake could answer, the low cry of a crow startled the 4 of them. Then the 4 of them looked over vigilantly, and when they found it was a crow, they breathed a sigh of relief. Damn crow, it's so scary. Seeing that it was a crow, Ichiro Kusashi's face relaxed, and then he threw out a kunai to kill the crow. Fortunately, these crows were greatly agile under Chiga's vigorous feeding, and they easily dodged it. Humph. The Kusashi who threw out the kunai saw that his attack did not hit, and wanted to throw another shuriken. At this time, Satake spoke. Okay, don't do anything unnecessary. This is still in the territory of the Land of Fire. If we meet the ninjas of Konoha, we are no match for them. Yes, Captain. As the night deepened, the bonfire had long been extinguished. Kayane was still thinking about how to sneak into the Land of Grass, but suddenly heard a low cry of crows in the distance. The barrier also sent a message that 4 people had entered his territory. It's strange. We are still in the territory of the Land of Fire, and we have encountered enemies? Kayane looked at the 2 tents, and saw that the 3 were still sleeping. He didn't intend to wake them up. The figure disappeared in an instant. When he appeared again, Kayane had come to the side of the crow. He calmed the crow with his hand, and then Kayane opened his Sharingan. In the dark night, the 4 figures had nowhere to hide under the Sharingan. Grass ninja! Exclamation mark. According to his initial observation, the other party was a team of 4 grass ninjas. In terms of chakra, one of them was a Jonin, 2 Chunins and 1 Genin. Kayane was a little surprised. They were in the Land of Fire. What was the meaning of such a small group of Kusanagi coming here? But he didn't think much about it. The ninja world was originally a small place. It was normal to cross the country to complete a mission. This group of Kusanagi probably accepted such a mission, but they had to pass through the Land of Fire quickly, so they had to travel overnight. If they were Kusanagi from the grass flower, they could still have leisure to slowly wander around the Land of Fire. After all, they were funded by Konoha. But the Kusanagi ninjas would be beaten to death by the Konoha ninjas if they were discovered. Kayane had already recognized this group of Kusanagi. The leader of the other party, Satake, was the Jounin of Kusanagi. Seeing that they were ninjas from the land of grass, and they were ninjas from Kusanagi, Kayane's eyes lit up. It was really a sleepy person who had someone sent him a pillow. He was just thinking about how to sneak into the Kusanagi village, but he didn't expect to meet a group of Kusanagi who had completed the mission and returned to the Kusanagi village. Although there was a high possibility of being discovered if he used the transformation technique to sneak into the Kusanagi village, Kayane didn't need to hide for a long time. Anyway, as long as he enters the Kusagakure village and finds the place where the supplies are stored, he can throw the detonating tag and run away with the team. With the existence of the Flying Thunder God technique, there is no need to worry about being chased and intercepted. You are unlucky. Kayane looked at this team of Kusagakure ninjas silently. In the silent night, Kayane was like a gentle cat, without making a sound. His movements were very light, but his walking speed was not slow. Because he didn't know whether the other party had a perceptive ninja, Kayane didn't dare to use a trace of chakra. After a while, he came to the back of the Kusagakure ninjas without the Kusagakure ninjas not noticing. According to his observation, the 4 Kusagakure ninjas were not concentrated and had a distance, but their positions were such that they could quickly support each other if they were attacked. Just looking at this position, Kayane felt that this team was not very strong, but it was also a team with tacit cooperation. Silently, Kayane took out his seldom used kunai. In this assassination environment, kunai was more handy. 4 grass ninjas jumped on the branches and soon landed on a crow. After the first 3 grass ninjas jumped off the branch, Kayane used the Flying Thunder God technique to come to the crow. A kunai flashed coldly in the night and directly cut the throat of the last grass ninja. The first one. In the face of the grass ninja's terrified and desperate expression, Kayane slowly placed the body of the grass ninja on the branch, and then followed the 3 grass ninjas step by step. At this moment, the 3 grass ninjas in front did not realize that their teammates behind them were dead. The crows around made a low cry, as if they were laughing at something. Soon, Kayane came behind another grass ninja. The grass ninja was alert. When he heard the footsteps approaching, he wanted to turn his head to observe, but at this time, Kayane had already made a move. He covered the grass ninja's mouth with his hand and stabbed the grass ninja's heart with his hand covering the kunai. The second one. It was not until Chiga killed 2 people that the remaining Kusa ninjas felt something was wrong. The Kusa ninjas in front noticed that there were no footsteps behind them. Sasuke and the ninja named Ichiro were startled and stopped at the same time. They turned their heads and looked behind them. When they saw this, their eyes widened. They saw that one of the 2 Kusa ninjas behind them had fallen to the ground, and the other was pierced through the chest by a kunai, but there was no trace of the enemy. Captain. The Kusa ninja with the kunai in his chest was not completely dead yet. He pointed his finger in the direction of Sasuke and wanted to say something, but the passing of life prevented him from speaking again. Gap. The crows also flew up, as if they were frightened. Then Chiga's figure appeared in the crows, and a pair of scalded eyes stared at Sasuke. Before Sasuke could resist, he fell into the illusion, and Chiga took Sasuke and used the Flying Thunder God technique to hide in the trees. Captain Satake, there is an enemy attack. Ichiro drew out his samurai sword and shouted in Satake's direction, and when he turned around to look at Satake again, he found that there was no one in Satake's position. In this cold night, Ichiro felt a little hot all over, and his back was wet without knowing it. He didn't know how many enemies there were, nor where they were, and more importantly, all his teammates had died. Even the captain, the Jounin Satake, was nowhere to be seen, and only a few crows were heard in the entire forest. He glanced around in fear, and finally he couldn't stand this weird atmosphere and ran away. In the darkness, a pair of red lights suddenly lit up, staring coldly at the fleeing Kusa ninja, and then disappeared, as if they had never appeared. Just give them 3 practice. Kayane originally wanted to solve it, but then he thought that, since he had already teamed up with Sarutobi Asuma and the other 2, he should give these 3 some practical experience. So he let this Kusa ninja go. The grass ninja ran for a while, and finally found that the road ahead became open. He was suddenly excited, and his face showed ecstasy. Chapter 124 Disguise. As long as he leaves the forest, his chances of survival will be greatly increased. Thinking about the opponent's silent means, he felt a chill from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. The opponent's concealment means are also superb, but as long as he leaves the forest and comes to an open area, the enemy will not be so easy to hide, and the opponent who can be traced will not be so scary. At this moment, the grass ninja did not care about hiding his whereabouts and ran forward with all his strength. However, soon, he met Sarutobi Asuma and the other two who had heard the noise. When the grass ninja ran over, he also saw Sarutobi Asuma and the other two. His face was ferocious, and he knew that his chance to survive was in the hands of these three people. Only if he could control these three little ghosts, then he might be able to negotiate with the elusive guy. Illusion Falling Sakura Nami no Jutsu. As soon as he saw that the person who appeared was not Chiga, Yuhi Kurenoi activated the illusion that had been prepared long ago and pulled Ichiro into the illusion. The purpose was not to kill the enemy, but to trap the enemy. Fire style, great fireball technique. At this time, Sarutobi Asuma also finished his seal, took a deep breath, and then spit out a large ball of fire. Ichiro, who was trapped in the illusion, was stiff and paused for a second. It was this 1 second delay that caused him to be invaded by the fire style ninjutsu, senbon. At the same time, countless tiny steel needles sank into the flames. The flames dissipated, leaving only a charred corpse with dozens of senbon stuck on it. Sarutobi Asuma and the other two did not relax their vigilance. They took out their kunai and formed a swastika formation with their backs to their backs. It's Kusunin. Where's Chiga? Did she get killed? No way. Chiga was already a Chunin a year ago. She wouldn't die so easily. The three were also surprised by the sudden appearance of Kusunin, but they began to panic when they didn't see Chiga. Chiga saw the three people deal with Kusunin and walked out of the forest. You did a good job. Chiga carried Sasuke and looked at the charred body and said, although it's a bit wasteful, you should be more decisive when facing the enemy. Did you let him go on purpose? Sarutobi Asuma said immediately after hearing this. Chiga nodded. You can kill a Chunin together without my help. You can be called excellent graduates. Of course. Sarutobi Asuma smiled proudly when he heard Chiga's praise. Then he thought that the opponent couldn't have only one ninja, plus the Kusagakure in Chiga's hand, so he immediately asked, where are their other teammates? Dead. Chiga replied lightly. Sarutobi Asuma was stunned. From the time they heard the noise to now, it was probably only 1 minute. But in this 1 minute, Chiga had actually dealt with 3 people on the other side, and if he hadn't deliberately let this Kusagakure come over, that means he had dealt with a team of Kusagakure in 1 minute. Is this Chiga's true strength? Asuma Sarutobi couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. He thought he had narrowed the gap with Chiga, but he didn't expect that the gap would become bigger and bigger. Okay, I'm going to interrogate this Kusunin. You guys take a break and adjust first. Considering that it was the first time for the 3 to kill someone, Chiga also left some space for the 3 to build up their own psychology. Anyway, he would not be a psychologist. Name: Samu. Age: 35 years old. Chiga asked in detail. Not only that, but also the ninja number and the names of familiar people. He also asked about Uzumaki Misa's situation. I didn't expect that she was really here with Kusuno Misa. It seems that this mission can also bring back a member of the Uzumaki clan. After asking about Samu's own information, Chiga asked about the information of Samu's 3 teammates. Only after all the information was asked, Chiga killed Samu with a knife. Then Samu's body was sealed in the scroll. Kusunin and Genin level Kusunin are not worth much, but Jonin is much more valuable. He could make a fortune by bringing the corpse back. When he came back, Sarutobi, Asuma and the other 2 were almost ready. After all, it was not the peaceful era of Naruto. The ninjas of this era were much tougher. Chiga said to Sarutobi Asuma and the other 2, it was a complete accident that they met us. And I have a plan to sneak in, which is to disguise as these 4 Kusa ninjas. Are there any problems with the transformation technique for you 3? Sarutobi Asuma and the other 2 looked at each other, and Yuhi Kurenoi spoke first. The transformation technique is indeed not a big problem, but when you pass through the gate of Kusa village, you will be checked by the perception ninja. Who said to go through the main gate? Chiga explained. Breaking the barrier is my strong point. We disguised ourselves as Kyusa ninjas and entered Kyusa village through the loopholes in the Kyusa village barrier. In the village, they can't always use perception to explore. After entering, we will find the place where the supplies are stored, put on the detonating tags and run away. And even if we are discovered, it doesn't matter. As long as you don't stay too far away from me, we can still leave Kyusa village safely. Sarutobi Asuma and the other two heard this and acquiesced. Flying Thunder God technique. It feels so outrageous. At this moment, Sarutobi Asuma finally realized the good intentions of his father. Whether or not the mission can be completed is not the point, but the chance of survival is really too great. In fact, there are many and varied means for ninjas to lurk. As long as they are not careful, a ninja may sneak into a village. But the difficulty lies in how to lurk for a long time and how to escape when discovered. Most of those who are discovered are basically beaten to death or arrested and tortured. But the Flying Thunder God technique really makes running away to the fullest, and it is really impossible to stop them if they want to run. But when you say this, you have to mention how a certain second generation died. If you want to learn, I will teach you. Chiga heard this and smiled. Forget it, I don't have this talent. Sarutobi Asuma had secretly read the ninjutsu on the sealed book a long time ago. He didn't understand the complicated techniques of the Flying Thunder God technique. One day later, Chiga and the other four walked in the grass country and soon came to the outskirts of the grass village. In a corner, Chiga used his hand to explore the barrier. How is it? Can I get in? Sarutobi Asuma asked. Kyan opened his eyes and said with disdain, TSK, I've heard that the ninjas of the land of grass like to imitate. I didn't expect that this barrier is actually imitating what teacher Kushina developed 5 years ago. Even if they imitate, don't they know how to keep up with the times? So, Sarutobi Asuma's eyes lit up when he heard it. Give me a minute. Kyan chuckled, quickly made seals with both hands, then put his middle finger and index finger together and pointed in the direction of the barrier and shouted softly, remove. After a while, with Kyan's deciphering, a circular hole appeared in the barrier, just enough for the four people to pass through. Chapter 125 Infiltrating the Kusagakure village. Okay, the next step is disguise. After Chiga made a small hole in the barrier, he turned to Sarutobi Asuma and the other two and said, Shizune and Hong, you two disguise yourself as Kazuki and Daisuke. As for Asuma, after thinking for a while, Chiga continued, you still remember how Ichiro looked when he was burnt, so disguise yourself as that and pretend to be a wounded soldier. After hearing this, the three carefully recalled the appearance of Satake's three teammates and then used the transformation technique to become the appearance Chiga said. Chiga also became Satake at this moment and carried Sarutobi Asuma, who was disguised as Ichiro, on his back and then walked into the barrier. After seeing that there were no people nearby, Chiga immediately walked to the main road and then swaggered to the medical department of Kusagakure village. When Chiga used the Sharingan to control Satake, Satake almost explained the color of his underwear, not to mention the terrain of Kusagakure village. And Kusagakure's ninja village is simply a world apart from Konoha village. Chiga's first impression of this ninja village was that it was deserted. The ninjas walking around were serious and rarely communicated with each other. Chichiga, are we too arrogant? Sarutobi Asuma, who was disguised as Ichiro, looked at the Kyusa ninjas around him. His face changed slightly, and he whispered in Chiga's ear, also, why are we going to the medical department? Lurkers must be bold and careful. Didn't you see that they had no desire to communicate with us after seeing you injured? Chiga replied unhappily. His eyes were always paying attention to the surroundings. Speaking of which, the Jonin Satake who was killed by him had some status. Those Kyusa ninjas who saw him would nod their heads. Fortunately, Chiga asked carefully during the interrogation, so he didn't reveal the truth. In addition, Sarutobi Asuma pretended to be the seriously injured Ichiro, and the Kyusa ninjas also thought that Satake was in a hurry to go to the medical team, so he didn't have time to chat with them. Chiga went on to say, as for why you went to the medical department, you were so seriously injured, where else could you go but there? Asuma Sarutobi frowned and said, but, in our current state, The ninjas in the medical department can tell our identity just by touching us. Shut up and pretend to be dead. Someone is looking over here. At this time, a team of patrolling Kusanagi came towards them. When they saw Chiga and the other three, they were slightly stunned. Then the leading Kusanagi frowned and asked, Lord Sabu? Didn't you go to the Land of Hot Springs to perform a mission? Why are you back so soon? Seeing that the patrolling Kusanagi were a little alert, Asuma Sarutobi and the other two were so nervous. But Chiga replied impatiently, it's because I wanted to come back early and took a shortcut through the Land of Fire. I didn't expect to meet the ninjas of Konoha and was attacked by them. Chiga said anxiously, urging, let us go, let us go. Ichiro can't hold on any longer. Only the woman in the medical department can save him. Hearing this, the originally vigilant look suddenly relaxed. Only the ninjas of their Kusano no Michiru knew about the existence of the woman, and there were sensory ninjas guarding the door, so it seemed that the people on the other side were their own people. The patrolling Kusano ninjas also immediately made way and let Chiga and the other four run over quickly. TSK, Ichiro was burned like this. Did he meet the Uchiha clan? I think they met the Sarutobi clan. If it was the Uchiha clan, they probably wouldn't be able to come back. That's true. The Uchiha clan's Sharingan is the first class bloodline limit in the ninja world. I don't know if Ichiro can be saved. Haha, with that woman around, Ichiro will be full of energy immediately. I don't think it's possible. Looking at Ichiro's appearance, it's a question whether he still has the strength to bite people. Haha, that's right. Chiga ignored the comments of the patrolling grass ninjas behind him and just hurried forward. As for Sarutobi, Asuma and the other two, they thought they were going to be discovered and were ready to fight. Unexpectedly, this team of patrolling grass ninjas was fooled by Chiga's few words. As expected, undercover personnel must be bold and careful. Shizune, who was walking at the end, also heard the discussion of the Kusanagi and asked in confusion, Captain, who is the woman they are talking about? As a medical ninja, Shizune knew Ichiro's extensive burns best. Without mastering the medical ninjutsu within the palm senjutsu, Ichiro's life could not be saved. Even if Tsunade-sama came to rescue him, he would not be discharged from the hospital for 2 or 3 days. But I didn't expect that from what the Kusanagi said. It seemed that there was a woman in their medical department who could make Ichiro recover immediately. Shizune immediately became curious. This is much more powerful than Tsunade. How could the Kusanagi village have such a powerful medical ninja? You will see her later. That woman will be our target this time. Kyan was relieved when he saw that there were no Kusa ninjas around. He explained, when I was interrogating Satake, I found that there was a member of the Uzumaki clan in their Kusa ninja village. She has a special physique. She can recover from injuries with just a bite. After destroying the supplies this time, we need to bring this woman back to Konoha. The Uzumaki clan, are they the same clan as senior Uzumaki Kushina? Yes. The three of them looked slightly serious when they heard this. The three of them had also studied history, and of course they knew that the Uzumaki clan had a close relationship with Konoha. The mark on the back of their ninja uniforms was the clan emblem of the Uzumaki clan. There was no rebuttal to Kyan's move. The four of them arrived at the medical department of Kusa Ninja Village without any danger. Lord Satake? In the medical department, a medical ninja saw Ichiro behind Kyan. His face suddenly changed, and he was ready to check Ichiro's injuries. At this time, Kyan's face darkened and he said, don't touch me. You can't save Ichiro with your talent, so don't waste time. Tell me where that woman is. Only that woman can save Ichiro now. The captain of the medical department heard this and felt a little angry. He didn't expect that Satake would be so disrespectful to him, but considering that Satake was one of the few jonin in the village, his identity and status were not comparable to his, so he could only smile awkwardly. Lord Satake, the woman is in the third medical room on the second floor. Kyan nodded and walked to the second floor with his teammates. When Kyan and the other four disappeared in front of him, the captain of the medical department spit at Kyan in the direction of the stairs. What kind of person is this? He let his teammates get so seriously injured, but he himself was intact, and he still had the nerve to scold me for not having talent? Thanks again to Duzaioxing for the reward. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like, Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.